My boyfriend's childhood sweetheart was diagnosed with a terminal illness, the kind that turned out to be a misdiagnosis, so on the day my boyfriend proposed to me, she decided to go all out, confessing her love loudly in the name of affection, in front of everyone. He chased, she fled, she couldn't escape, and my heart shattered into pieces. Finally, she and he overcame all obstacles and achieved a happy ending. I was abandoned by all and forced to leave my homeland. After being reborn, I faced my friend's familiar accusations with a silent smile. The best way to defeat moral blackmail is to return it exactly as it was given. That's hilarious. Who can't find a friend with a terminal illness? I found an obscure male actor online for $100,000 a month, just to play the role of a terminally ill male friend. He agreed without hesitation. It's just a matter of closing your eyes and kicking the bucket. But on the agreed day, the other party said they had something to do and sent someone else. Instead, I didn't mind, as long as the ultimate goal is achieved. That's all that matters. Just as the elevator going down opened its doors, I hurriedly stepped inside and immediately noticed the tall young man in the corner. He stared expressionlessly at his phone, the light catching on his hair as if coating it in a beautiful glow. His features stunningly handsome, but his skin was a shade paler than normal, and his eyes held a weariness that was hard to ignore. He looked like a sickly beauty straight out of a manga. I sighed inwardly, afraid of offending anyone, and quickly averted my gaze, seeing that the person I had previously arranged with said the replacement was already in the elevator. I dialed the number he had given me. Suddenly, a phone rang behind me, startling me. Without thinking much, I answered with a hello. Then I heard the young man's magnetic voice, which was exactly the same as the one that had come from the phone. Hello, what a coincidence. I turned around in surprise, yet I saw the young man slowly curve his eyes at me, and in an instant, the previous distance and aloofness vanished completely. Miss Jianhua, I was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. I never expected that the replacement would be such a handsome guy, but thinking about meeting that despicable couple right away, I quickly told him what to do next. In short, it's all about being fake as you can be. I believe in your professionalism. The young man, Meng Xiai, who had already introduced himself, had a smile in his eyes and said gently, "Yes, I guarantee to complete the task." Little did I know that when the elevator door opened, I had just taken a step when I accidentally twisted my ankle. Fortunately, Meng Xiai was quick to react and caught me. At the same time, a group of people outside the elevator watched as we embraced. "Hua, what are you doing here? And who is this?" Guchen, looking utterly shocked, stared at the tall Meng Xiai and me in his arms. It seemed he had thought of something, as his face instantly darkened, wearing an expression of anger as if he had been betrayed. "Jianhua," the people nearby screamed, "I trusted you so much, even helped you get together with my brother, and yet you hooked up with someone else. How could you do this to my brother?" This conversation immediately caught the attention of others, their eyes lighting up instantly. "Oh wow, a girlfriend cheating scene. This is intense, something that should have been kept from the crowd." Guxiang still shouted it out loud, "Brother, you've done so much for her, even held a proposal ceremony, yet she secretly came to the hospital to meet someone else, and they hugged. It's just too much." Others also started pointing fingers at me, as if they had personally witnessed me being intimate with someone else. But wait, didn't Meng Xiai just help me up a little? How did everything become a done deal? Truly a master at turning white into black. I signaled Meng Xiai to let go, glanced at Tonging in Guchen's arms, and spoke unhurriedly, "Xiaoxiang, you've misunderstood. Brother Xiai and I are just good friends. I was about to fall, and he helped me. Besides, Guchen is holding Tonging. Surely you can't say Guchen is cheating too, right?" As soon as the words fell, everyone finally noticed the quiet as a chicken Tonging in Guchen's arms. Guxiang retorted without a second thought, "Bullshit, they're just good friends." I nodded with a bright smile. "Exactly, Xiai Gij and I are just good friends too." After thinking it over carefully, everyone felt that it actually made perfect sense. You have your good friends, and I have mine. It was just a helping hand, not a kiss. But at that moment, Tonging spoke softly, "Miss Jiang, I know you resent me for ruining your proposal ceremony with Brother Chen, and you even came to the hospital specifically to confront us. Don't worry, I'll leave right away. I won't be a bother to you." Faced with her fragile, delicate demeanor, Guchen looked at her with heartache, then turned an impatient gaze toward me. "I've already said Tong Tong isn't in good health. Why do you have to be so petty? Can't you just let her get through this time peacefully?" His words nearly made me laugh in disbelief. What shameless words, coming to the hospital to block you. How thick-skinned can they be? Meng Xiai, standing nearby, was very quick on the uptake. He suddenly coughed a few times, drawing everyone's attention, then leaned gently against My chest feels a bit tight, let's hurry to find the doctor, he's probably been waiting anxiously. I thought to myself, out of sight, out of mind. After all, I'd already seen them, and there was no rush to get back at them right then, so I cooperatively supported him. Let's go. Guchen, who had originally been worried about Tong Ying, watched me support Meng Xiai as we left, his expression darkening. Gu Xian frowned and questioned, when did Jianghua make a new friend, and they're so close? Could it really be a little lover? Guchen didn't answer, just feeling a bit uncomfortable inside. Once we were sure we were out of those people's sight, Meng Xiai straightened up on his own and smiled, seeking praise. Miss Jiang, that person's face just now was completely black. I blinked and praised him. Well done, but from now on, just call me Huahua. We don't want anyone catching us off guard. The smile in his eyes deepened. All right, so what's next? Thinking of what that scumbag and that awful woman had done, the corner of my mouth twitched involuntarily. Of course, we press our advantage, thinking back to the proposal ceremony not long ago, when Guchen publicly abandoned me and walked away. My heart trembles with anger once more. The scene replays vividly before my eyes. Jianghua, Tong Ying is on the brink of death. Do you have no compassion? What's wrong with Guchen going to take care of her? Exactly. We're all friends. What's the harm in helping out when life and death are at stake? My two good friends Lin Shi and Zhao Shui were indignantly blaming me, as if my anger was just me being unreasonable. Anyone who didn't know better would think I had committed some heinous crime, but in reality, it was that boyfriend who deeply loved me, who, upon hearing the news of his childhood sweetheart's terminal illness, immediately rushed over without a second thought, and I was left alone in the vast hotel, completely ignored. Oh, not entirely. There were still two friends trying to persuade me to let go of that scumbag and his despicable partner. Thinking back to those words from my past life that were spoken without any sense of responsibility, I, now reborn, slowly let a gentle and magnanimous smile spread across my face. I understand it all. Their bond is so strong, so even if Brother Chen left me alone during the proposal, I can still make sense of it. Lin Shi, who had been about to offer earnest advice, paused for a moment, sensing something amiss, but nodded instinctively nonetheless. It's good that you understand. After all, Ying is on the verge of death, and Guchen will still be yours in the end. I smiled without saying a word. I used to think the same way, but one wrong step leads to another. After calming my parents and the guests, I received a call from Guchen. Huahua, are my parents angry? This way of speaking shows he hasn't considered at all whether I might feel embarrassed or hurt. I thought of the couple who were just about to be driven mad by their son's sudden departure, and gently softened my voice. It's fine. Uncle and Auntie will understand. After all, Tong Ying is dying. It's only natural for you to spend more time with her, especially since she's loved you for so many years. On the other end, Guchen, recalling how Tong Ying had tearfully confessed to having a crush on him for 10 years and was now suffering from a terminal illness, felt his heart soften instantly. But he also didn't forget that this was still our proposal ceremony, so he coaxed me with a guilty tone. Sorry, I didn't expect this to happen. I'll definitely make it up to you in the future. I gave a cold, mocking smile. Please don't. You two better stay locked together forever. Stop causing me trouble. Although I could directly expose the fact that Tong Ying isn't actually ill, but if I do that, wouldn't I still have to marry Guchen? Just thinking about this scenario makes me feel like accidentally stepping in dog poop while walking down the street. Utterly disgusting and irritating. So, they absolutely must be together, and be together well soon. I heard they had moved into a villa. What a coincidence. It was exactly the house we were going to live in after our wedding, just because Tong Ying wanted to be buried in a sea of flowers before she died. The backyard of the marital home happened to have a vast sea of flowers, so they moved in just like that, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. All the items I had carefully prepared became little props to spice up their growing affection. Thinking of the plan I was about to carry out, I moved in overnight and even invited my two friends. Otherwise, with just a man and a woman alone, it would sound terrible if word got out. With more people around, wouldn't it be less awkward? They used the same excuse last year, as if they had forgotten that Guchen and I were the legitimate couple. They kept pushing Guchen and Tong Ying together, constantly making excuses for them, even when they kissed, calling it an accident. Whenever I got angry, they would start guilt tripping me, accusing me of being heartless and nitpicking. When Tong Ying was on the verge of death, this place gradually turned into a battlefield of arguments, small fights every 3 days, big fights every 7. Tong Ying would always apologize to me pitifully, talking about leaving while still clinging to Guchen, putting on a dramatic show of parting as if it were a life or death separation, and so, Guchen would always take her side. I had period cramps, and he told me to drink cold water. Yet he rushed out overnight to buy heating pads and painkillers for her. I got drenched in the rain and developed a fever of 39 degrees. While I lay in bed, barely conscious, he was having a candlelit dinner with Tong Ying. I would constantly and tirelessly probe him about when he would be willing to marry me, and he would always say, just wait a little longer. But the moment Tong Ying appeared, he could drop everything and leave me behind. Back then, I couldn't for the life of me understand how someone could be so shameless. They say a decent ex should act as if they're dead. If you know you're about to die, why come out and ruin someone else's life? So, determined to save face and stand my ground, I tried every possible way to break them up, but in this life, I insist on locking them together by hand. When my parents heard the news that I was moving in, they immediately called me back home for a meal. Their words were filled with probing questions about my attitude toward Guchen before. My parents thought Guchen was perfect in every way, but after this incident, I really feel he's too fickle-minded. He hasn't even properly ended his romantic entanglements before coming to ruin their daughter. How utterly vexing. Sweetie, are you two really going to live together there? Seeing the resentment in their hearts, I rubbed my nose. I couldn't say I had already let it go. After all, I still needed to get back at them in my own way, so I could only give a vague reply. Yeah, I'll stay for a while. My dad and mom exchanged a glance, both sighing inwardly. If you ever feel wronged, just come back home. There are plenty of good men in the world. He's not the only one, and even if not, we have hands and feet. Are we really afraid of feeding one more mouth? Finally, my father dropped a heavy sentence with a solemn expression. Hearing this, my nose tingled with emotion. In my past life, after making a complete mess of everything, I ran off abroad without a word, all for the sake of saving face. Just as I had finally come to terms with it, I heard the news of their fatal car accident. I truly became all alone in the world. Fortunately, now I have a chance to start over. I've thought it through. The best way to defeat moral coercion is to throw it right back, unchanged. Hilarious, as if anyone can't find a friend with a terminal illness. So, just as Guchen and his group returned home, they saw me getting out of a taxi with Meng Xiai. His brows were weary, his expression pale, his tall and slender frame forced to lean on someone else, making him appear gentle and refined as jade. In short, he looked even more like a pretty boy, the kind that's ready to step into the house and make himself at home. Apart from Guchen, whose face darkened, everyone else exchanged puzzled glances, momentarily unsure why I had brought him back. Suddenly, Meng Xiai coughed a few times. I pretended to pat his firm chest, feigning concern. Are you okay? He shook his head. I'm fine. Then, with deep affection, he grabbed my hand. Thank goodness you came with me to the hospital. I hate going there the most, and I'll have to trouble you for a while longer. I smiled cooperatively. It's fine, we're good friends. After all, the stunned few. This feels so familiar. After entering the house, I took the opportunity to introduce him to everyone. This is my good friend Meng Xiai, whom you all saw at the hospital this afternoon. He'll be staying with us from now on, so I'd appreciate it if you could look out for him. Hello, Meng Xiai said softly, then coughed lightly a few times, as if to emphasize his fragile health. Guchen suddenly questioned, we've been together for so long, how come I never knew you had this friend? Just as I was about to answer, Meng Xiai cut in first, it hasn't been that long, we only met a few days ago. Then he lowered his head and chuckled softly, saying something shocking, but I fell in love with Hua Hua at first sight. She knows I don't have long to live and couldn't bear to reject me. If you want to blame someone, blame me. After all, I'm about to die anyway. With that, he coughed a few more times, his eyes filled with gloom. Guchen had never seen such a male green tea before. He opened his mouth but found himself at a loss for words. Tong Ying, however, frowned and said, staying at someone else's house after just 2 days of knowing each other isn't appropriate, is it? Besides, Sister Hua is still Brother Chen's fiancé. Meng Xiai glanced at her, his gaze somewhat cool. Then, as if hurt, he shamefully lowered his head. I'm really sorry for disturbing you. I heard before that you moved into their marital home, and I thought it was allowed. Turns out it's not. Me, damn, bro, that deserves a raise. Guchen's expression instantly changed, and he anxiously looked at me. Hua Hua, I didn't intentionally bring her to live here. It's just that Tong Tong likes the flowers in the yard, and the environment here is better. I nodded understandingly, cutting him off promptly. MHM, when you kissed on the balcony, it was also mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I totally get it. I only found out about this much later in my previous life. Back then, I was about to go abroad, and Tong Ying came over to kick me while I was down, proudly boasting about how infatuated Guchen was with her, yet Guchen had only ever held my hand, claiming it was out of respect for me. Thinking about it now still feels so ironic. In an instant, the entire living room fell into Silence, especially Guchen and Tongying. They were probably wondering when I had seen it. I glanced at them and thought that the version of myself from my past life, who had cursed and shouted upon seeing that scene, really shouldn't have. Once a dog has eaten shit, how can you still expect it to change its mind? He should be made to eat shit forever, because I acted so magnanimously. Even Lin Shi and Zhao Shui couldn't find fault. What else could they say? That my tone wasn't cheerful enough. As the atmosphere froze, Meng Xi once again added fuel to the fire. Strange, the balcony is so small. Were you standing there giving mouth to mouth? Does that mean you could do it for me too? I replied with a straight face. Sure, after all, we're good friends. Guchen, good friends, my ass, enough. Guchen couldn't hold back any longer and shouted, Jianhua, you think I embarrassed you by leaving you behind that day? So you're deliberately finding someone to piss me off, aren't you? I really wanted to sneer and slap him across the face so he knew all along, but I just kept lying through my teeth. I didn't. Meng Xi nodded in agreement. Mr. Gu, please don't be angry. It's all my fault. I was the one shamelessly pestering Huahua. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Tang Ying's face instantly flushed with heat. If he was shameless, then what was she? Wasn't that even more disgusting? Suddenly, Tang Ying felt a tightness in her chest and shortness of breath, and fainted. Instantly, Tong, Guchen quickly picked her up and ran upstairs. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui watched anxiously, turning their heads, instinctively ready to blame me, but then, they saw Meng Xi cough heavily a few times, his face drained of color, and in the next second, he actually coughed up a mouthful of blood. I never expected him to pull such a move, and in an instant, I quickly supported him and helped him upstairs as well. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui silently closed their mouths, their hearts filled with puzzled thoughts. Oh dear, it looks quite serious, doesn't it? Could it be a terminal illness too? As soon as the door closed, Meng Xi immediately became lively and energetic. Seeing me frown with worry, he smiled and explained, it's nothing, just occasionally spitting up blood. It looks scary, but it's actually no big deal. I was half convinced, but seeing the sparkle in his eyes, I also breathed a sigh of relief. You scared me to death. I thought you were so angry with them that you coughed up blood. That would have been my fault. Meng Xi rubbed his nose and asked, so, I'll stay here for now. Exactly, the house is registered under my name. How dare he object? It's just that in my previous life, I was deceived by those two into selling the house and even had that sum of money swindled away, so this grudge must be avenged. A few minutes later, Guchen hurriedly knocked on the door. Seeing Meng Xi lying in bed looking weak and frail, he hesitantly asked, I heard he vomited blood. They just went to the hospital specifically to learn about his condition, saying his health is failing, that he could cough up blood and die at any moment, and that his emotions shouldn't be too agitated. That sounds quite eerie. I glanced at him indifferently. I've already gone to bed, so is there anything else? Remembering his purpose for coming, he quickly added, why don't you move to another room? A man and a woman alone in one room. It wouldn't sound good if word got out. Lin Shi immediately nodded beside me. Exactly, that's so inappropriate. I chuckled softly, with a hint of sarcasm. A few days ago, when Tang Ying fainted, didn't you stay by her side all night without even taking off your clothes? Guchen sounded a bit impatient. She's just a patient. What could I possibly do to a patient? I smiled and retorted, exactly, ACA is just a patient. What could I possibly do to him? Guchen choked, instantly at a loss for words. Seeing this, I sneered coldly, wishing I could kick this scumbag flying. In my past life, Tang Ying would faint at the drop of a hat, and Guchen would always take meticulous care of her. Caring for her led to them ending up in the same bed, with the excuse that it was all an accident. If it was truly an accident, how could they have even taken their clothes off? Absolutely disgusting. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui even explained that they just slept together in an embrace. Still innocent, and asked me not to make a fuss. After all, Tang Ying is about to die, so what's wrong with giving in to her? And at that time, I could only suffer in silence, forced to swallow my anger. Now that I think about it, it was all nonsense. Guchen still wouldn't give up. Then I'll take care of him myself. I gave him a curious look. That won't do. Miss Tong still needs you to look after her. I care about you so much. How could I let you take care of two people? Besides, Lin Shi and Zhao Shui aren't familiar with ACA. Wouldn't it be awkward for them to be together? And this bed is only so big, you can't all squeeze in together, can you? Seeing his words were completely blocked, Guchen's face darkened. Suit yourself. With that, he turned and left. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui exchanged a glance, then found an excuse to take their leave. Meanwhile, on the bed, Meng Xi opened his eyes. These people truly use the name of justice to carry out their dirty deeds. I was amused. Who says it's not true? Ignoring Guchen's continued objections, Meng Xi still moved in, right next to my room with only a wall Between us, Meng Xiai said he wanted to let me taste his cooking skills, and since I didn't want to face those other people, I stayed nearby to help out. Just as I was washing the scallions, Meng Xiai suddenly leaned in close, reaching for the seasoning in front of me. This position seems to perfectly encircle me. I instinctively stiffened, my heart inexplicably beating a little faster even when I was with Guchen. The most we ever did was hold hands. No one had ever been this close to me, and in such a posture, no less. Just as I was about to tell him to stay away from me, a roar came from behind. "What are you two doing?" Meng Xiai was then roughly pulled away by Guchen, who was seething with anger. His waist slammed into the corner of the table, and he frowned, letting out a muffled groan, his expression pained. "Are you insane?" I glared at Guchen and quickly checked where Meng Xiai was hurt. In my opinion, this person has just gone crazy again for no reason. Guchen's eyes were red. He was so close to you. Didn't you feel anything at all? Pulling and tugging early in the morning. Are you treating me like air? Frowning, I questioned him in an impatient tone. Making breakfast is considered pulling and tugging. Then weren't you two cheating behind my back before? Remembering that he and Tonging had been making breakfast together for the past few days, Guchen immediately fell silent. His face remained gloomy until he finished breakfast. He also forgot to bring it up to Tonging, but I'm no saint, so I couldn't be bothered to remind him. It has to be said, the power of rumors is immense. Although I don't have a good relationship with the people at the company, the embarrassing incident at the engagement ceremony is already known to everyone. Even those who usually enjoy giving me a hard time are hypocritically probing for follow-up details under the guise of concern. After dealing with several groups of people, I finally understood what it means when three women can create a whole street of gossip. If I gave them some space, they'd probably start putting on a show right then and there. I thought I would have to find another opportunity to break up with Guchen. Who would have thought that after finally getting off work and returning home, the smell of alcohol hit me. I instinctively reached to turn on the light, but a large, well-defined hand grasped mine firmly. I was startled, not knowing when Meng Xiai had arrived behind me. As I instinctively stepped back, I accidentally stumbled right into his arms. "Don't turn on the light," he spoke softly, his gentle voice murmuring low in my ear. I didn't understand why, but I also lowered my voice. "Why?" He bent down slightly, but I immediately tensed up. I only then realized that although he usually looked sickly, he had a robust and well-toned physique. Just his proximity gave off a faint sense of pressure, trapped in his embrace. I didn't dare move for a moment. He seemed unaware of my tension and continued, speaking unhurriedly, "A ready-made weakness, isn't it right here?" I hadn't yet grasped his meaning, but my eyes, now adjusted to the darkness, saw Guchen and Tonging rolling together on the sofa, their faces flushed, clearly both heavily intoxicated. I was taken aback. "Are they both drunk?" Meng Xi's tone carried a hint of amusement. "Hua hua, didn't you want to break up with this scumbag? They've already found the reason for you." I fell silent for a moment, thinking that in my past life they had probably already been tangled up like this long ago, so how could Guchen do such things with someone else while still claiming to love me? "Then what do you plan to do?" Meng Xiai straightened up and snorted with a laugh. "Of course, it's about giving them a taste of their own medicine." After capturing all their disgraceful actions on camera, I took a deep breath, turned on the lights, and put on an angry expression. "What are you doing?" My voice was sharp and loud, startling Lin Shi and Zhao Shui awake almost instantly. "Jianhua, what are you yelling for?" Lin Shi walked out, clearly displeased, startled awake by the lights and screams. Guchen, finding himself stark naked under everyone's gaze, instinctively pulled at the blanket. As a result, Tonging, lying beside him, was left mostly exposed, her fair skin covered in bruises of blue and purple. Lin Shi and Zhao Shui, being no strangers to such matters, guessed what might have happened and widened their eyes in shock, but the moment Tongying's body was revealed, I immediately turned and covered Meng Xi's eyes. The movement was too hasty, making it seem as if I had thrown myself into his arms. Meng Xi steadied my waist, as if to comfort me. "It's fine." I closed my eyes. Hearing this, I somewhat awkwardly withdrew my hand. "Oh." At that moment, Guchen got up with a grim expression and began putting on his clothes. "Jianhua, let me explain." I rolled my eyes inwardly and calmly dropped a bombshell. "Forget it, let's break up." "What?" Guchen cried out in disbelief, just as Tongjia slowly woke up. Seeing the scene before her, her face instantly turned pale. Guchen tried to salvage the situation. "We just had a little to drink, nothing happened." Seeing him still trying to push the blame with that absurd excuse, I was so angry I almost laughed. Just as I was about to lash out, Meng Xiai pinched my waist, calming me down. Guchen, sharp-eyed, noticed this gesture and instantly turned his spearhead toward him. Is it him? Did he say something? Realizing I was no longer isolated and helpless, I nodded, openly admitting it, determined to infuriate him. You always say I don't know how to be considerate, nitpicking with someone who's about to die. After meeting ACI, I think you're absolutely right. So, for the rest of his life, I want to stay by his side, to avoid giving anyone a reason to criticize. I think it's best we break up. Gu Chen's face twisted for a moment. After all, when he was with Tong Ying, he never imagined it would give people a reason to gossip. But then he changed his tone and began earnestly trying to persuade me. But Tong Ying is still your friend, someone you know inside and out. How long have you even known him? What if he's just a scammer? Although what he said was actually true, I had already made up my mind to cut ties with him, and his words didn't affect me in the slightest. Friends are friends. What does the length of time matter? ACI, and I hit it off right away. And we're just purely friends, aren't you and Tong Ying? Just pure friendship. Seeing him once again rendered speechless by my words, I sneered inwardly. Truly a friendship of lips. Tong Ying stammered at this moment. This must be a misunderstanding. For this White Lotus, I had absolutely no patience left. I reached out, grabbed Meng Xie, who was watching the show with great interest, and headed upstairs. Oh, right, as if we're all blind, unable to stand them for another day. I sent Gu Chen and Tong Ying's evidence of guilt to Gu Chen's parents, telling them their son had found them a better girlfriend. From then on, we would part ways and never meet again. Mr. and Mrs. Gu were instantly furious. Who is Tong Ying? A dying man. Indeed, taking care of him is one thing, but how could he ever be allowed into the Gu family's inner circle without a second thought for their opinions? With Meng Xi's help, everyone in their social circle quickly learned the whole story and happily settled in to enjoy the drama. After all, the juiciest gossip always comes from someone else's backyard. Several people sent messages that were ostensibly comforting but actually laced with sarcasm in their eyes. I was almost on the verge of a happy ending with Gu Chen, yet he was still snatched away by someone on the brink of death. Just thinking about it makes me furious. Some even thought I was the one who cheated and got dumped, but as soon as others looked into it, everything became clear. A terminally ill friend. You have yours, I have mine. Isn't that fair? Moreover, my initial statement was spread by Lin Xi and Zhao Shui. On one side, he abandoned his girlfriend for a childhood sweetheart with a terminal illness, remaining unmoved despite the rumors flying around. On the other side, he decisively chose to break up to avoid giving others any reason to criticize. In comparison, the difference is clear. Even Lin Xi and Zhao Shui felt that Gu Chen and Tong Ying's previous actions were somewhat unfair. You say there's nothing wrong with taking care of your childhood friend, but you could have broken up with her first, then gone to take care of someone else with a clear conscience. Otherwise, wouldn't everything you do make her feel uncomfortable? Never in a million years would I have expected it. Tong Ying gave me a call. From the sound of it, we were still by the river, with the wind howling fiercely. Jianhua, please don't break up with Gu Chen, okay? Her voice choked with sobs, as if her heart were breaking, yet she had no choice but to force the words out through the pain. I was determined to see what kind of mischief she was up to, so I listened silently to her tearful plea. Meng Xie, standing nearby, raised an eyebrow in surprise, his tall frame leaning in as if trying to hear more clearly, as if guided by some unseen force. I didn't press the speakerphone button then. I heard the person on the other end of the line sobbing, I'm going to die soon, after I'm gone. Please take care of Gu Chen for me. Hearing this, my face instantly turned cold. TSK, this tone of entrusting sounds more and more grating to the ear. Are you sure you don't want to go to the hospital again? I reminded her coldly. Over there, she was solely focused on organizing her words, and could barely string a sentence together. How could she possibly care about what others were saying? Seeing my expression growing increasingly impatient, Meng Xie chuckled softly and reached up to pluck a grape. What? I asked him quietly. It's washed, for you to eat. The next second, the grape was popped into my mouth. I have to admit, it's quite delicious. So, while the other end of the phone kept chattering away, on this end, you and I shared grapes one by one, eating with great delight. I know you don't like me, and I'm also angry that Gu Chen left you at your engagement ceremony for my sake. I decided to leave him, but that Meng Xie doesn't seem like a good person at all. I advise you to break up with him as soon as possible, or Gu Chen will get angry. I thought to myself, who does she think she is? Feeling inexplicably annoyed, I simply stopped listening to her nonsense and decisively hung up the phone. Seeing me fuming, Meng Xie naturally pinched my cheek. Didn't you already know what kind of people they are? No need to get this angry. I opened my mouth, wanting to argue, but then I realized, why was I angry? Was it just because she mentioned Meng Xie? Thinking of this, I instinctively glanced in his direction. The young man's short black hair was A bit tousled, with long, narrow eyes, as if noticing my gaze, the glance he cast over had an exceptionally alluring feel to it. Even with his sickly pale skin, it couldn't hide his good looks. For some reason, I felt a bit uneasy inside and asked with a puzzled tone, "Your illness isn't real, is it? A normal person can't just cough up blood at will, though it only happened once. The thought alone makes one feel uneasy." Meng Ci was somewhat surprised that I would bring up this topic out of the blue, but he only vaguely brushed it aside. Seeing his evasion, I suddenly realized he was just someone I had hired. I know nothing about him except his name. How could I care so much about someone like this? It seems I need to end this quickly. Unexpectedly, Guchen came looking for me the very next day. He had been called back home by his parents earlier, and as soon as he stepped through the door, he was met with a barrage of accusations. "Jianghua, why did you drive Yingying away, if it weren't for Linshi?" Noticing that Yingying wasn't home, she might have ended up all alone and wandering outside. Meng Ci reached out and wrapped his hand around my clenched fist, his tone weary and indifferent. "What, is she still a 3-year-old child? Can't she survive without others?" Guchen shot him a glare before turning back to me, his gaze sharp as if looking at an enemy. "But she's just a girl. If she gets bullied out there, how could you live with yourself?" Meng Ci couldn't stand the way he was yelling at me, and his expression quickly turned cold, his tone unusually sharp. "What? Who is Hua to you? You provide her with food and shelter, but that's not enough. Now you even want to control whether she goes out or not." Originally, I couldn't help but be angered by Gu Chen's disgusting behavior, but Meng Ci's unwavering defense of me quickly cooled my temper. Thinking of Tong Ying's exaggerated, tearful performance last night, I pretended to be deeply distressed. "This is clearly your fault. You didn't give her enough sense of security. She clearly wants so badly to stay by your side, yet you haven't given her any assurance. She likes you so much, and she doesn't have much time left. If you truly care about her, you should give her a proper place by your side." Guchen didn't expect me to say that. He choked for a moment, then put on a pained expression and said, "Isn't this all to put your mind at ease? I know you've always liked me, but Yingying has liked me for so many years too, now that she doesn't have much time left. Could you please, for my sake, stop making things difficult for her?" These words genuinely disgusted me, so for a moment, I couldn't find a response. Meng Ci, standing nearby, let out a scornful laugh. His beautiful phoenix eyes held a barely noticeable malice and jealousy. "Who do you think you are? Hua has already broken up with you, yet you still think you're such a hot commodity. In reality, you're nothing but a piece of trash, gilded on the outside but rotten within." His words filled my heart with satisfaction. Meng Ci felt it wasn't enough to utterly crush someone's spirit. Not only did he wrap his arms around my waist, but he also pretended to be fragile. After all, Hua has been keeping me company all this time. How could she possibly have the chance to make things difficult for her? Besides, I really like Hua too, since I don't have much time left anyway. Why don't you just be a little more generous and not get angry with me over this? How could Guchen not be furious? Wasn't this just openly cuckolding him right in front of his face? Seeing him unhappy makes me happy. What Ci said is so right. He's not in good health, so you shouldn't be so nitpicky with him. I actually learned this line from Guchen in my past life. Guchen looked utterly shocked, staring at us as if we were a pair of adulterers. "What did you say?" I turned to look at Linshi and Zhao Shui. "You agree, right?" They nodded. "Yes, what you said makes sense." Guchen was furious. "How can you take her side?" Linshi and Zhao Shui exchanged a glance and declared firmly, "We've always been like this." Once back in the room, I finally couldn't hold back my laughter. "You really know how to infuriate someone without paying the price." Ha! Meng Ci curved his eyes slightly, staring at me without saying a word, but inwardly, he silently thought, Hua is wonderful, but soon she'll be mine." Feeling that I had finally vented my anger and not wanting to worry my parents any further, I decided to move out of this place. We'll find time later to sell this house, otherwise, just looking at it makes one feel unhappy. Upon hearing this news, Meng Ci fell silent for a moment, then gave a light laugh, just like when we first met, dispelling all the distance and coldness around him. "That's great." Hearing this, my heart felt heavy, yet I didn't know what to say. Right, I almost forgot he's just an actor. He's so good looking. Why aren't his shows popular? Does he have a lot of girlfriend fans? Probably a lot of people like him, right? But in reality, we are merely in an employer-employee relationship, so, for some inexplicable reason, when he took my hand, I didn't think to pull it back. Perhaps it was because, faced once again with the kind of awkward and lonely situation from my past life, someone was willing to stand in front of me. "Just for a little while, I'll indulge in this feeling." Just for a little while. Guchen saw our commotion and quickly stepped in front of us. "Hua, are you moving out?" "Why, I gave him a strange look. You haven't forgotten, have you, that this was our previous marital home? Now that we've broken up and won't be getting married, I'll explain things to my parents, so there's really no need for me to stay here anymore, right? Since I've decided to distance myself from this scumbag and his mistress, and the purpose of moving in has already been fulfilled, why should I continue to endure the discomfort of staying here? Guchen saw Meng Xiai holding my hand, his face alternating between green and red. Are you really going to take him back with you? I nodded with a beaming smile. Meng Xiai suddenly leaned in, wearing a smug and disdainful grin like a concubine who had successfully risen to power. Hua Hua is so wonderful. Not only did she break up with you for me, but she's also willing to take me home, unlike someone who's still just a good friend to this day. I couldn't help but laugh, worried that he might really get angry and stop us from leaving, so I quickly pulled Meng Xiai away. Tang Ying, who had just been brought back upstairs, turned pale upon hearing these words, and tears immediately began to fall. Just good friends, is that all? After returning home, I suddenly didn't feel so excited anymore. You said a friend would come to pick you up later, right? The air suddenly fell silent. Meng Xiai turned to look, his smile tinged with loneliness, as if a lingering reluctance flowed between the two of them. Well, you should go back. I opened my mouth, feeling I had no reason to keep him any longer. After all, my own emotional life was such a mess. In others' eyes, it might well be seen as a complete disaster. Okay, I should have felt a great sense of relief now that Mingming had finally gotten rid of those two, but somehow, I just couldn't focus on anything. My parents thought I was depressed because of Guchen, so they started speaking and walking softly around me, privately blaming him for ruining their daughter. I had thought that I just needed to get used to living alone again, but when Guchen messaged me to meet up, I felt as if I had come back to life, eagerly dialing the old number, but I heard someone else's voice on the other end. Feeling like I had finally vented my anger and not wanting to worry my parents any longer, I decided to move out of this place. I would find time later to sell this house, otherwise, just looking at it would make me feel uneasy. Upon hearing this news, Meng Xiai fell silent for a moment, then let out a soft laugh, just like when they first met, dispelling all the distance and coldness around him. That's wonderful. Hearing this, my heart sank, but I didn't know what to say. Oh right, I almost forgot he's just an actor, with looks like his. Why aren't his shows more popular? I wonder if he has many girlfriend fans. There must be many people who like him, right? But in reality, we are merely in an employer-employee relationship, so, for some inexplicable reason, when he took my hand, I didn't think to pull it back. Perhaps it was because, when faced with the same kind of awkward and lonely situation as in my past life, someone was willing to stand in front of me just a little while longer, just a little while. Guchen noticed our movements and quickly stepped in front of us. Hua Hua, are you moving out? Why? I gave him a strange look. You haven't forgotten, have you, that this was our wedding home? Now that we've broken up and won't be getting married, I'll talk to our parents. So there's really no need for me to stay here anymore, right? Since I've decided to distance myself from that scumbag and that shameless woman, and the purpose of moving in has already been achieved, why should I continue to endure the discomfort and stay here? Guchen saw Meng Xiai holding my hand, his face alternating between green and red. Are you really going to take him back with you? I nodded with a beaming smile. Meng Xiai suddenly leaned in, wearing a triumphant and disdainful grin, like a concubine who had successfully risen to power. Hua Hua is so wonderful. Not only did she break up with you for me, but she's also willing to take me home, unlike someone who's still just a good friend to this day. I couldn't help but laugh, afraid that I might really upset the person and they would stop us from leaving, so I quickly pulled him away. Tang Ying, who had just been brought back upstairs, turned pale upon hearing these words, and tears immediately began to fall. Just good friends, is that all? After returning home, I suddenly didn't feel so excited anymore. You said a friend will come to pick you up later, right? The air suddenly fell silent. Meng Xiai turned to look, a somewhat lonely smile on his face, as if a lingering reluctance flowed between the two of them. Yes, you should go back now. I opened my mouth, feeling that I had no reason to keep him any longer. After all, my own emotional life is such a mess. In the eyes of others, it must look like a complete disaster. All right, I should feel a sense of relief now that I've finally broken free from those two, yet somehow, I can't focus on anything at all. My parents thought I was depressed because of Guchen, so they started speaking and walking softly, privately blaming him for ruining their daughter. I originally thought that as long as I got used to living alone again, everything would be fine. But when Guchen sent a message asking me to meet up, I felt as if I had come back to life, eagerly Dialing the old phone number, I heard someone else's voice on the other end. It wasn't until Guchen, with a face full of guilt, asked me to pretend to be pregnant to cover things up, so that others wouldn't think Tongning was improper, that I finally lost my temper. Do you have any shame, Guchen? Her reputation matters, but mine doesn't. You two hooking up is one thing, but getting her pregnant and then expecting me to take the fall, are you out of your minds? Meng Si I had never encountered someone so shameless before. He was so angry he actually laughed. One clings to someone else's boyfriend, the other knocks someone up and shirks responsibility. Truly a perfect example of moral decay. You two are a match made in heaven. Guchen, already feeling guilty, was now furious and embarrassed. What's it to you? Meng Si's eyes flickered as a sudden idea came to mind. To be honest, because of my illness, no one is willing to be with me, but I'm the only son in my family. Could you? Tongying's face stiffened, feeling that the meaning she had guessed in her heart was too shocking, afraid others might hear, yet unable to suppress her anger. She said, "What do you mean? You want me to leave an heir for your family?" I immediately understood Meng Si's meaning. Inside, I was nearly laughing hysterically, but on the surface, I appeared extremely anxious. My parents have always wanted a child. If Miss Tongying goes and the child is born, what will happen without a mother to raise them? Guchen trembled with rage. What do you take me for? I glanced at him. The child's mother is gone. How are you going to explain this to your parents? They won't accept a child that appears out of nowhere. Having a child before marriage, that's not a good reputation. Guchen angrily pointed at Meng Si. But isn't he also about to die? I narrowed my eyes, finding his words extremely grating. Meng Si chuckled lightly. Even if I'm gone, my family will have an heir. My parents couldn't be happier. Tongying gritted her teeth, pointing at me. Can't you have Jianhua bear one for you then? Meng Si looked at her with disgust. How could I possibly let a decent family's daughter be with a sickly man like me for no reason? Wouldn't that just ruin her life? Tongying was about to explode with anger. What? So she wasn't from a decent family then? Guchen, seeing her face pale with anger, quickly patted her back to soothe her. Don't be angry. You're still carrying a child. Tongying was still fuming. How could you even think of using a child like that? It's utterly shameless and despicable. I leaned against Meng Si's shoulder with a smile. Exactly. How could anyone let someone else raise their child? It's downright insane and utterly heartless. Meng Si also sneered. So, what exactly are you here for? Guchen was suddenly at a loss for words. According to what they just said, does that mean I'm supposed to take care of their child for no reason at all? The scene instantly fell into an eerie silence. Even the onlookers who had been quietly observing the drama snapped out of it. After their worldview was severely shaken, they sneered in disdain. Unbelievable. Isn't this just a massive double-standard scene? Seeing that they still wouldn't give up, Meng Si immediately shut them up with one sentence. If you bring this up again, I'll send the photos of you two messing around on the sofa straight to your parents. Then, this shitstorm won't land on my head anymore. I marveled inwardly. Haha, Meng Si's foresight was absolutely spot on. After going out, I was afraid that I really wouldn't be able to contact Meng Si again, so I quickly added him on WeChat. Meng Si looked quite pleased, thinking about the future. I looked at his somewhat pale face and tentatively took his hand. Why not seize the day and go to the hospital again? Maybe your diagnosis was a mistake. Meng Si was taken aback at first, I thought. He stopped halfway through his sentence and didn't continue. Knowing I was still concerned about his previous episode of vomiting blood, he didn't refuse. After all, being cared for is something that makes people happy. Since visiting the hospital, I understood that he only vomits blood occasionally, but his health is otherwise excellent. I was only puzzled for a moment before accepting it. It was probably Meng Si who deliberately misled them before. There are indeed incurable diseases in the world, and perhaps there is such a strange illness soon. I heard Guchen's name again. I heard that Tongying's situation was discovered, and Guchen had to shed tears, saying she didn't have much time left and asking to take care of her for a while longer. However, when she had to go to the hospital due to severe morning sickness, Tongying was told by the doctor that there was absolutely nothing wrong with her. In other words, she was perfectly healthy. And so was the baby. Mr. and Mrs. Gu were too busy with company matters to pay any attention to their love-hate drama, but Guchen felt deceived. He gave up so much for her, yet she hasn't done a thing. Some whispered behind his back, mocking him for being blind, deceived, cuckolded, yet still happily holding her in the palm of his hand. A complete joke. Others speculated that they must have been involved long before, staging this whole affair just to let the mistress take her place. It's also their own fault for doing so many high-sounding things in the name of love before. Now that the truth has come to light, many things can no longer withstand scrutiny. I had thought that since Tongying already had a child, she would have given up on causing trouble. I never expected her to show up at my company in broad daylight, blocking my way with her big belly, in front of everyone, tears welling up in her eyes. She suddenly knelt down. Miss Jiang, Please, I beg you, ask your boyfriend to let Brother Chin go, for the sake of your past engagement with him. TSK TSK TSK, truly a white lotus, how terrifying the amount of information revealed. In just one short sentence, but did ACI take action against Gu Chen's family company? Well done. Haha. I cleared my throat, my expression even more sorrowful than hers. Miss Tong, it's not that I don't want to help you. Business collaborations are just like this. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they fail. How can you call it suppression? Besides, now that you're pregnant with Gu Chen's child, why are you still wearing high heels when you go out? What if you fall? What if you have a miscarriage? If you lose the baby, how will you ever marry Gu Chen? Because I was too emotional when I said that last sentence, the people nearby heard it clearly, and their previously sympathetic gazes instantly changed to wow, not even married yet and already pregnant, and the lover used to be someone else's fiancé. Impressive. Tong Ying's expression twisted for a moment, never expecting me to be so ruthless. And I don't know if my words had an effect, but her stomach really started to ache faintly. Then someone pointed at her stomach and screamed, "Ah, she's bleeding down there. Is she going to have a miscarriage?" Tong Ying's expression instantly turned pale. My stomach hurts so much." I frowned, thinking it was very likely she wasn't faking it. After all, this was her only trump card. Just as I was about to call an ambulance, Gu Chen barged in with disheveled hair and a fierce expression, shouting, "Zhenghua, what have you done to Ying again?" It was truly a case of standing innocently by while blame fell from the sky. The man beside me sneered and retorted, "It was your little mistress who came looking for trouble in high heels, and you're blaming others. What kind of behavior is that? Birds of a feather really do flock together." I gave him a grateful smile, then met Gu Chen's bloodshot eyes with a cold expression. "Instead of accusing others without knowing the facts, you should call an ambulance first." At that moment, Meng Ci ran over, panting, his face showing obvious concern. "Are you okay? Did they bully you?" Even though the situation seemed to be in my favor, he still came, and his first words were words of concern. My heart softened a little, and I no longer wanted to continue this entanglement with them, so I took his hand. "It's fine, take me home." He seemed pleasantly surprised, then answered very quickly, "Okay." Then we didn't even glance at them again. Later, I heard from others that Tong Ying had lost her baby. It seems it was because she ate something she shouldn't have. Gu Chen was furious, believing she had caused the death of his child. He also deeply regretted it, saying he had given me up for her. I sneered coldly and no longer paid any mind to their affairs. After all, a scumbag is a scumbag. How could changing the target ever alter his true nature? And after that day, perhaps sensing my softening toward him, Meng Ci began approaching me even more frequently. Intimate words flowed effortlessly from his lips, as if pushing me to drop my stubbornness sooner or later. Truth be told, I wasn't blind to the affection in his eyes. It's just that amidst the joy, there's also an inexplicable sense of panic, probably because I'm afraid of being abandoned by someone again. Meng Ci could see it too. While subtly accommodating me, he continued to quietly undermine the Gu family's business. It's all their fault for making his journey to win his wife back so long, but water wears away stone, and the human heart is so soft. Even my parents couldn't stand to watch, thinking I was stringing him along. Although what happened with Gu Chen was truly awful, people always have to look forward. That boy is a good one. If you really don't want to hold him back, you should make it clear to him as soon as possible. Several of your aunties want him as a son-in-law. My originally anxious heart was instantly filled with shame and annoyance. No way. My mother smiled knowingly. All right, I know you all too well. You're so possessive that you even get upset when others glance at him. The sooner you two settle things, the better your father and I will feel at ease. I knew they were afraid I would be disappointed in the future. That was indeed the case before, but now, there is one person whose very name makes my heart bloom with joy, leaving no room for any other thought. I know, I'll have a good talk with him, but I still need to find the right moment. I can't just go up and say, "Will you be my boyfriend?" That would be so awkward, so it dragged on until Meng Ci's birthday, and during these days, Meng Ci had also laid all his cards on the table. The actor he had found before was his friend, who wasn't actually an actor. His family only owned an ordinary listed company, and if he didn't want to work, he could live off his parents for the rest of his life. When I first heard this, I fell silent for a moment and even joked, "Could it be that you've liked me all along? Is that why you deliberately got close to me?" He didn't argue, just grabbed my hand and kissed it, saying with righteous conviction, "Exactly, you're so wonderful. If someone wrongs you, they're blind." My nose tingled with emotion. I always felt that meeting him was truly the best thing, but I also wondered, why had this person never appeared in my previous life, as if he had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. So, after helping the drunk Meng Ci back to his room, I asked him once again when he had started liking me. He rolled over pinning me beneath him, then leaned down to kiss my forehead, his gaze filled with deep affection. Of course, a very, very long time ago, under his gaze, I suddenly remembered the disgusting scenes from my past life and couldn't help but shed tears of grievance. Then why didn't you show up when I was being bullied? He was somewhat flustered, his gentle kisses moving from the corner of my eye to the corner of my mouth. I'm sorry. If I hadn't gone abroad before, I wouldn't have left you to face those things alone. Please don't cry, it's all my fault. If I had known, I would have come back sooner and never let you go abroad by yourself. Go abroad, I was shocked, even forgetting to cry. Wasn't that from my past life? Could it be? At this thought, I was momentarily stunned, feeling both relieved and sad. So, I wasn't as worthless as they said. Someone was willing to keep me in their heart after all. Thank goodness you came back. Woo. Well, I'm back. Then we got married very quickly. When I was with Guchin before, it took 3 years of being together before I was willing to get engaged. Now, I've only known Meng Xiai for 3 months, yet my heart is already filled with thoughts of married life. I guess that's how it is when you meet someone you truly like. After learning that I was reborn, Meng Xiai often worried that I might become unhappy again upon encountering Guchin and the others, but with better people already waiting for me, how could I possibly be distracted by those who no longer matter? After all, the past is beyond reach, yet the days ahead remain bright. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My mother traveled 50 kilometers to a dairy farm to buy fresh milk specifically to nourish my pregnant sister-in-law. When she brought it back, insisting on preserving its natural sweetness, she didn't boil or sterilize it and directly gave it to my sister-in-law to drink, but I felt something was off and quickly poured out the fresh milk my mother bought, warning them that drinking unpasteurized milk could lead to brucellosis. Yet, my mother and sister-in-law refused to listen and insisted on buying it for the whole family to drink. To my surprise, a few months later, the whole family developed high fevers that wouldn't subside, and my sister-in-law even suffered a miscarriage. Tests revealed brucellosis. Yet they blamed it all on me, and my brother even held me down in fresh milk, suffocating me to death. You're the only one who didn't get brucellosis. You must have deliberately kept it from us early on, hoping the whole family would die so you could inherit the property. Since that's the case, you can go bury with my son. You have no idea, this milk was squeezed from the cow less than 2 hours ago, still warm, not even pasteurized, with all the nutrients intact. My mother held a bowl of hot milk, smiling as she looked at my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law, with her big belly, looked at the bowl of milk and said happily, "Mom is the best, going so far to bring this back for me. It's so delicious. Mom, you've worked hard. You should have some too." The two of them were the picture of maternal kindness and filial devotion, but I found myself staring at that bowl of milk, lost in thought. This milk was specifically bought by my mom, making me drive her 100 kilometers round trip, and she didn't mention a word about it. Seeing me staring at the milk, my mom's smile faded as she said coldly, "What are you looking at? There's none for you. All of this is saved for your brother and his wife. What does a girl like you need such good milk for?" Watching my mom's disdainful expression, I couldn't help but laugh, but my mother didn't know that the so-called fresh milk she spoke of had never undergone proper sterilization and disinfection, and drinking it could cause brucellosis. In my previous life, she would bring back this kind of fresh milk every day, claiming, "This is the freshest, most nutritious milk. Drinking it will guarantee my daughter-in-law gives birth to a healthy 8-pound baby boy." She even urged the whole family to drink this milk for nourishment, but when I found out, I poured out all the milk at home and told my mother that drinking it could lead to brucellosis. I never expected my mom to suddenly slap me across the face. "You ungrateful brat. How dare you say this premium milk of mine could make people sick? You're just jealous I won't let you drink it. Do you even know how much this costs per pound? You should be ashamed to even think about drinking it." Later, when the whole family got sick, and my sister-in-law even had a miscarriage, they blamed everything on me. Now, my mom is yelling at me again just like old times. "Look at what kind of books you're reading. We asked you to send us $10,000 every month. And how long did you last before saying you're out of money? Don't you know your sister-in-law is about to have a baby? There will be so many expenses coming up. Instead of helping out more at home, you're just focused on these nice things." In my previous life, I earned $12,000 a month, and my mother demanded I contribute $10,000 to the household, completely disregarding that I still had to pay rent, utilities, and other expenses. Every month, I had to scrimp and save. They still thought it wasn't enough and insisted I send my entire salary back home every month. If I hadn't gotten a promotion, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford rent, let alone buy a car now. Looking at my mother and my sister-in-law, who is naturally entitled, I couldn't help but sneer. Mom, you're right, I don't have money, so I don't deserve to drink your milk. You two should drink more of it. It's especially good for your health, especially freshly squeezed milk. Mom said it's the most nutritious. If you squeeze it yourself, wouldn't it be even more nutritious? Maybe my sister-in-law could even give birth to a son. My mother, after hearing this, said with a pleased smile, "That's right, Freya, I'll go milk it for you myself tomorrow. It's really good nourishment, my ass. Freshly milked cow's milk contains a ton of bacteria, sis-in-law, especially for you. It might even turn the baby in your belly into a genius." With that, I turned and walked away, not wanting to deal with these people at all. My mother looked at the milk with delight. In her eyes, I was just a slave to the James family. She watched me leave with a satisfied gaze. "That's right, my healthy and brilliant grandson. Freya, drink up quickly. If it tastes good, I'll bring you more tomorrow morning." But my sister-in-law found it strange and looked at my mother. "Mom, isn't Harry driving? How did you get there?" My mother looked at my sister-in-law with a triumphant expression. "You're so naive, your sister. She bought a car for tens of thousands of dollars. These days, I've been making her get up early to drive me to buy milk. She keeps saying she has no money, yet she could afford a car. No way. I'll take the car back these days. What does a young girl need a car for anyway?" My sister-in-law sipped the milk and said with a smile, "Mom, but doesn't Donna need to drive to work every day? If you take the car back, how will she get to work?" My mom said nonchalantly, "It's just a few kilometers, isn't it? Only 5 kilometers. You could even walk there. Why make such a fuss? Once we get the car back, I'll take you for a ride every day." My sister-in-law stroked her belly and said with a smile, "Mom, if it really doesn't work out, give her the electric scooter at home. I don't want her to be late for work because she doesn't have a car. After all, there are many expenses for the baby in my belly, and I'm counting on her to book me a luxury postpartum care center." Little did they know, I hadn't left yet and heard everything. These days, my mother has been demanding that I wake up early to drive her to the ranch, a round trip of several hours. I wanted to refuse, but she guilt-tripped me, causing me to be frequently late for work, yet she couldn't care less. Being late is no big deal. Nothing is more important than my grandson. Besides, it's only natural for you to drive me. It's not like it takes that long, just a few hours. If it weren't for my recent promotion and the fact that I made up the lost time by working late into the night, I would have cursed them out long ago. At this thought, I clenched my fists and sneered. This family truly has no shame, sucking me dry like this at 6 a.m. The next morning, my mom knocked on the door of my rented apartment. "Donna, what time is it already? Hurry up and take me to the farm. I need to get fresh milk for your sister-in-law." I groggily opened the door, exhausted from working overtime all night. My mom was holding an empty plastic bucket, gesturing for me to hurry outside. "What time is it and you're still sleeping? Do you have any idea how important this milk is for your sister-in-law? I'm telling you, if you make me miss the time to get fresh milk, don't think you'll be able to go to work at all." Watching my mother's haughty demeanor, I couldn't help but roll my eyes and say with a laugh, "Mom, that's a 100-kilometer round trip by car. If I take you, I'll definitely be late for work. So what if you're late? It's only natural for you to accompany me to buy milk. Besides, you'll be married off in a few years anyway. After all the effort we've put into raising you, the bride price should be at least $660,000, just enough for your brother's down payment." I clenched my fists. I never expected my mother to have calculated my future bride price so meticulously. How painstaking. Too bad. I'm not that foolish. "Okay, Mom, wait for me outside while I go in and tidy up a bit." Before my mom could react, I immediately closed the door and went back to sleep. I forgot to tell my mom, I worked overtime yesterday, so today's my day off. I secured the windows, turned off my phone, put in my noise-canceling earplugs, and went back to blissful sleep. After waiting 20 minutes with no sign of me, my mom started knocking on the door again. "Donna, haven't you gotten your lazy ass out yet? I'm telling you, the milk is only fresh in the morning. Look at you, sleeping in every day. What kind of girl behaves like this?" Another half hour passed, and my mom started to sense something was off. Normally, I was the most obedient and considerate toward her, so why hadn't I come out today? Her knocking turned to kicking. "Donna, how dare you lie to me? I've sacrificed to put you through school, and you can't even be bothered to go buy me some milk." Fine, you're nothing but an ungrateful wretch. What's the point of having a daughter like you?" When no one answered the door, my mom grew even angrier. She couldn't stand defiance from me or my brother. She grabbed a plastic bucket and started slamming it against the door, until our neighbor Aunt Lee flung open her own door and started yelling at her. What the hell? Who the hell are you, making such a racket early in the morning, you lunatic? If you want to argue, get the hell out. What time do you think it is? It's only past 7. Keep making noise and see if I don't kick you out. My mom wasn't the least bit intimidated and fired right back. This is my daughter's house. I'll make as much noise as I want. What's it to you? You nosy old hag. Go ahead, call the security to throw me out if you dare. Aunt Lee was so angry that she directly splashed a basin of foot-washing water on her. My mom was furious and immediately started yelling, "How dare you splash me? Believe it or not, I'll teach you a lesson, you filthy bitch." The next second, just as she was about to take action, a security guard stopped her. "Ma'am, you're already causing a disturbance. You can't stay here any longer." My mother wanted to resist and shouted loudly, "My daughter lives here, and I'm also a resident. How can I be disturbing the peace? Are you out of your mind? Let me tell you, I'm going to file a complaint against you." Unexpectedly, the security guard smiled and said, "Even if you're a resident, you can't keep causing a disturbance. Besides, if this were your home, why can't you get in?" My mother was left speechless, and the security guard forcibly escorted her out, leaving her fuming and cursing at the entrance of the neighborhood. To buy fresh milk, she took the bus and then transferred to the subway, traveling for a full 4 hours to reach this remote dairy farm. When she arrived at the farm, she discovered the fresh milk was already sold out. Enraged, she yelled at the staff, "It's already gone at this hour. Do you have any idea how far I've come? I don't care, you have to give me some, or I won't let you off easy." She lay on the ground wailing and threw the plastic barrel directly at the staff member's head. Seeing my mother causing a scene, the staff quickly explained, "Auntie, it's already afternoon, and this freshly squeezed milk hasn't been sterilized yet. How about I give you some milk from our factory instead?" Hearing this, my mother rolled her eyes and immediately said, "I don't want this factory milk. It's definitely not as good as fresh squeezed, and they sterilize it too. Sterilization kills all the nutrients. No way, I want fresh, just squeezed milk." My mom immediately jumped up from the ground, caused a scene at the dairy farm, and ran straight to the cows to squeeze the milk by hand. The staff exclaimed in shock, "Auntie, these cows could hurt you." My mom wasn't the least bit afraid. She reached out roughly to grab at them, even looking quite pleased with herself. "I'm not afraid of these beasts. Isn't this a piece of cake?" Who would have thought the next second, the cow got angry and kicked my mom flying with one hoof. My mom screamed in pain. My chest, ah. The cow didn't seem to have vented its anger yet, as it kicked my mother's butt again, making her scream even more pitifully. When I woke up and checked my phone, I found my mother had called me dozens of times, and my brother and sister-in-law were all scolding me, but I leisurely put on my clothes and was just heading out when Aunt Lee next door also opened her door. "Donna, your mom did show up this morning. Luckily, I managed to chase her away." I was extremely grateful and handed Aunt Lee a box of fruit. By the time I leisurely arrived at the hospital, my mom was in the ward angrily scolding me. "What kind of person is this? What is all this? Your sister actually dared to make me go alone to such a far place to buy milk. What kind of heart does she have? And this dairy farm, with so many cows, why wouldn't they sell me freshly squeezed milk?" Turns out, my mom was kicked to the ground by one of the cows. Fortunately, it was on grass, so she only had some soreness and no injuries were found during the checkup. My brother saw me and immediately stormed over, slapping me across the face. "Do you even know Mom got kicked by a cow? Why weren't you with her?" I covered my face but couldn't stop laughing. "Why didn't that cow kick Mom hard enough to paralyze her?" "You're still laughing, Donna. After all these years Mom struggled to raise us both. How dare you even smile?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes. "Support? Come on, bro. It was Mom who raised you. When I was studying, she didn't pay for my living expenses, while he went to an international school with $5,000 a month for living costs. When I was in college, I even had to give her money. Now you're all relying on me to support the whole family, with your measly $3,000 salary a month. What can you even afford? And you dare to hit me? You're the last person who has the right to hit me." I immediately slapped him back. Seeing this from her hospital bed, my mom started yelling at me angrily, "You worthless scum, how dare you hit my son?" My brother was shaking with anger at my words. Just as he was about to strike, I immediately said, "Brother, what a shame. No matter how much I act out, aren't you still my brother? Mom is already so old, and in the future, you'll be the closest person in my life. So, I plan to pay the down payment for your house and book a luxury postpartum care center for my sister-in-law." As soon as these words were spoken, Harry, who had just been ready to hit me, immediately changed his attitude. My pregnant sister-in-law also instantly softened her expression. "That's right, Donna is Usually so busy with work, it's normal she can't take Mom, right, honey? And Mom, you're so old, why didn't you ask Harry to take you? How could you expect Donna to do it? My mom froze, unable to believe what my sister-in-law had said. She was shaking with anger. Freya, I was doing this for you and the grandchild in your belly, but my sister-in-law smiled at me, unusually affectionate. Mom can be a bit short-tempered sometimes. I'm sorry. Donna, what would you like to eat? I'll make it for you right away. I watched this family and thought how hypocritical they were for money. When I went to the bathroom, I deliberately left my phone recording. Only after I returned did I find out that as soon as I left, my sister-in-law immediately changed her attitude. Mom, you don't know, but I heard Donna got promoted again. She must be making at least $30,000 a month now. And her annual salary is probably in the millions. The way I acted earlier was all to get her money, my mother exclaimed in shock. Wasn't she only making $12,000 a month? Recently, she hasn't even been bringing money home often. Mom, Donna is a top graduate from a 985 university. She must be earning a lot. We just need to trick all her money into our hands. Once she buys us a house and a car, we can sell her off for the bride price. We'll make a killing. My brother laughed when he heard this and said, Mom, this bitch is really turning a lot, and she even dares to drink what I coaxed her with when she runs out of money. I'll make sure to finish her off. Mom, you know that poorest guy we have, the one who needs $600,000 to get a wife. Let's sell this bitch to him. Hearing this, my mom immediately laughed and said, good, very good, excellent, that little bitch deserves it. Son, you should drink more of this milk. I squeezed it myself today. It's very fresh, and make sure that ranch compensates us. After all this, they owe us at least $1 million or so. Harry hugged his sister-in-law and called over the ranch worker. What exactly is going on here? My mother is in this state. Doesn't your ranch bear any responsibility? A broken bone takes 100 days to heal. Let me tell you, do you believe we'll see you or not? My mother even played along, moaning dramatically. That's right, they did it on purpose, refusing to give me milk. Oh my goodness, unexpectedly, the staff member wasn't the least bit intimidated. Instead, they responded with a cold laugh. Auntie, we have surveillance video. You trespassed onto our ranch without permission, and we already warned you, but you didn't listen to us at all. You even provoked our cows without authorization, and now you want us to pay you. At most, we'll cover your medical expenses. Nothing else is possible. Besides, Auntie, we checked you from head to toe as you requested, and there are no injuries. As soon as my mother heard this, she immediately started throwing a tantrum on the ground. Oh, and we even bought a month's worth of milk from you. My brother, seeing that the staff member wouldn't budge no matter what, got so angry that he started hitting the staff member. The staff member immediately burst into tears and said, oh no, my head hurts. Could it be a concussion? I'm calling the police. Oh no, you're hitting me. That's illegal. Oh no. This made my brother even more furious, and he wanted to continue hitting the staff member. The staff member immediately pretended to be accidentally pushed over by my brother. Oh no, it hurts, my back, wah, you're bullying me. This is a hospital, there are cameras everywhere. I'm calling the police. My mom was dumbfounded watching the staff's actions. This, aren't we supposed to be compensated? Why is she getting up again? You're shameless, daring to extort our family. Believe it or not, I'll deal with you. Unexpectedly, the staff directly called the police. And only then did my mom and brother get scared. By the time I leisurely made my way to the police station, my brother glared at me angrily. Why are you so late? Don't you know we're at the police station? I smiled at their whole family. Well, who would have guessed? How did your entire family just randomly end up in the police station? My sister-in-law clutched her stomach and said, Donna, that person is so ruthless, demanding we compensate them. Mom's money, they have surveillance, so we can't get much. What should we do? I feigned surprise. Oh my, how could they do this? What a shame. I had already planned to use the money to buy a house for you and my brother, and for your luxury postpartum care center. I don't have much left now. My sister-in-law immediately said, you've already booked a luxury confinement center for me. This, let me see. I smiled and handed my sister-in-law the pre-edited pictures on my phone. When she saw that it cost $100,000 a month, she immediately became excited. Oh my, this is a presidential suite. Donna, you're too good to your sister-in-law. My brother immediately looked at my mom and said with a smile, Mom, your monthly pension is already $4,000, so you must have saved up quite a bit. If you hadn't provoked the ranch staff, I wouldn't have stood up for you, and we wouldn't have ended up having to pay compensation. Hearing this, my mom looked pained. Son, it's not your fault, it's mine for being too impulsive. You are just looking out for me and standing up for me. I'll cover the compensation, it's just a few $1,000 Dollars, right? Watching my mother's pained expression, I felt utterly comfortable when I got back home. The phone rang. Miss Donna, thank you for warning me about your brother and mother trying to scam us. Many thanks. I'll treat you to dinner tomorrow. I just smiled. It's okay. I just don't want my mom and brother to harm others. I've never seen such a disgusting old lady. We checked the surveillance footage and found out she had been coming to buy our milk every day. She only bought a small amount of regular milk, nowhere near as much as she claimed. Later, when we reviewed the footage, we discovered she had bribed the security guard to sneak in and steal milk, and it was the unpasteurized milk she was taking. I was stunned. Every time my mom went to buy milk, she insisted I wait outside. She would first purchase a small amount of regular milk, then immediately head into the dairy farm. I never imagined this was how she obtained the untreated milk. No wonder. How could such unpasteurized milk possibly be circulating now? I'm afraid my mother still feels smug about it, thinking she got a great deal by giving this milk to her daughter-in-law, hoping for a grandson, but that's probably impossible now. Sure enough, not long after, just as I was about to go home to check on them and see if they had developed brucellosis, I pushed open the door and saw my mother weakly calling out, "Donna, come quick. Something's wrong, something's wrong." How could I possibly ignore such a situation? I rushed home in a hurry and saw my sister-in-law covered in blood from the waist down, clutching her stomach and screaming in pain. My stomach, Mom, it hurts so bad. Husband, take me to the hospital. My brother was vomiting uncontrollably beside her, his body burning with fever, his face flushed and hot. Wife, I really don't have any strength left. My mother, lying on the ground, saw me and said, "Donna, quick. We don't know what's wrong. We've had a fever and been vomiting for the past few days, and your sister-in-law is bleeding from her lower body." Seeing my mother and brother's weak state, it seemed like a brucellosis outbreak. My sister-in-law, clutching her stomach, looked at me. "Donna, take me to the hospital quickly. I really can't hold on anymore. I feel like I'm about to lose my baby." But my mother stopped me. "We can't call an ambulance. If the neighbors find out your sister-in-law is bleeding down there, they'll definitely mock me for not having a grandson." It turned out my sister-in-law had wanted to go to the hospital for a checkup these past few days, but my mother stubbornly prevented her. "You don't understand. The hospital's examination equipment has so much radiation, it must be harmful to the baby. I bought some miscarriage prevention medicine. You should take it quickly." My sister-in-law had no choice but to take the medicine, but unexpectedly, her condition worsened, and she even started bleeding. My sister-in-law knelt before me, pleading, "Donna, I beg you, they've taken my phone. Please take me to the hospital." My brother tried to stop me, and my mother even yelled angrily, "Donna, if you dare take your sister-in-law to the hospital, you won't be my daughter anymore." Looking at my sister-in-law's condition, I smiled and said, "Sister-in-law, I'll give you my phone so you can call the police. I can't do it myself. After all, she's my mother, otherwise she wouldn't let you leave at all." When the police arrived, my mother was kicking and punching my sister-in-law, while my brother lay there half dead beside them. My sister-in-law was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Both my mother and brother passed out during the struggle. When my mother woke up, she learned that my sister-in-law had miscarried and lost the baby. All three of them were also diagnosed with brucellosis. My dear grandson, oh dear, whoa. I told you we shouldn't have sent him to the hospital, but you wouldn't listen. When my sister-in-law heard about her miscarriage, she directed all her anger at my mother. "If it weren't for you stopping me from going to the hospital, how could my baby have miscarried? How could this happen? And what's this about brucellosis? Mom, these past few days I've only eaten the food you prepared." Upon hearing this, my mother shifted all the blame onto my sister-in-law. "It's clearly your poor health. The radiation in this hospital is so severe. I told you not to come, and that miscarriage prevention medicine, have you been taking it properly?" The doctor nearby couldn't take it anymore. "We found a large amount of heavy metals in the so-called miscarriage prevention medicine the patient mentioned. It wasn't miscarriage prevention medicine at all." My brother was stunned upon hearing this. "Mom, didn't you say this medicine cost you a lot of money to get? How come it contains heavy metals? It could kill someone if taken." Upon hearing this, my sister-in-law's face turned deathly pale. "Doctor, check me quickly. I won't die, will I?" The doctor sighed. "First, you should be concerned about brucellosis. The main reason for your miscarriage is brucellosis. If not treated properly, this disease can be fatal." Brucellosis, how could we possibly have that? The doctor looked at them and said, "Brucellosis, also known as undulant fever, is an infectious allergic disease caused by brucella invading the body, affecting both humans and animals. Have you had any contact with cattle or sheep?" My sister-in-law immediately caught on and looked at my mom. My mom used to milk cows. This couldn't be that, could it? Drinking unpasteurized milk or goat's milk can also cause it. At these words, my mom's eyes filled with disbelief. How is that possible? This sterilization process would destroy all the nutrients in the milk. I specifically bought the non-sterilized kind. My mother didn't believe it. Still refused to believe it, but my sister-in-law went berserk and lunged at her. It's all your fault. My son is about to be born. Did you do this on purpose? Fine. My brother looked at my mother and, in a fit of rage, slapped her across the face. I always told you not to buy those cheap things, but you just couldn't resist a bargain. Now we've lost the child. I stood by with a worried expression and said, "Come on, brother, you shouldn't talk to mom like that. She only stole that unpasteurized milk from the farm to save money." My mother seemed to find some justification and immediately retorted, "That's right. How much is your salary?" "Just $3,000 a month. If it weren't for me at home, you wouldn't even be able to afford meat every day." Hearing this, my brother's vision went black, and he fainted on the spot. Seeing my brother faint, my mother immediately looked heartbroken. "My son, oh dear, he's my only son. Someone please help my son." My sister-in-law was so angry at the chaotic scene that she also fainted. I thought it served them right. I wondered how my brother would deal with our mother for the rest of his life, since it was our mother who had caused the death of their child. My mother looked at the two people in the emergency room, then at me standing nearby, and with an air of entitlement, she took out the payment slip. "Donna, go and pay the bill now. I find it ridiculous. Why do I have to pay for someone else's illness? Mom, where would I get the money? All my savings went to my brother for his house, and we booked a luxury postpartum center for my sister-in-law. I probably only have $100 left on me." My mother sneered coldly. "I don't care, you're my daughter, and he's your own brother. I don't have that kind of money. If you don't have it, go take out a loan." And your sister-in-law lost the baby. She even miscarried my grandson. That luxury postpartum center is useless now. Go cancel it. Day after day, all you do is waste money. And now you want to stay in some luxury postpartum center. Cancel it for me, Mom. No matter what you say, I don't have the money. Why should I take out a loan? Who do you think you are? Let me tell you, my sister-in-law's miscarriage is all your fault. Who told you to be so greedy for small advantages? You act like everyone owes you something. Get lost. I fired back without hesitation. Are you insane? Who the hell wants a mother like this? My mom froze, stunned by my counterattack. Furious, she tried to slap me but was immediately stopped. You still want to hit me? Haha, Jean Guifang, are you out of your mind? I immediately struck back, watching her clutch her face in pain, yet I felt nothing but satisfaction. Since childhood, when has she ever cared for me, calling me a money-losing burden, saying I'd be like water spilled out when grown, even wanting to abandon me? My mother covered her face, cursing at me angrily. "I'm cutting ties with you, and you dare to hit me, you little brat. Fine, you bastard." I turned around and walked away immediately. She tried to chase after me, but I said, "Security, come quick, this person is trying to skip out on paying and run away." With those words, I bolted. My mother was immediately pinned down by the arriving security guards, who angrily shouted at her, "You're insane, you." Back at home, I accepted the company's offer to work abroad for a year with a doubled monthly salary, immediately packed my things, and terminated the lease. Faced with these medical expenses, my mother gritted her teeth and took the money from her pension fund. Now she truly had nothing left. After my sister-in-law woke up, the first thing she did was divorce Harry. "I really can't live with you anymore. Your mother killed my child. She literally killed my child, and now I have brucellosis too. How can I possibly stay with you?" At first, my brother tried to persuade her to stay, but my mother didn't care at all. "Son, a woman like her isn't worth keeping. Besides, if you can't handle a woman, just hit her. I don't believe she won't listen to you. Beat her into submission, and that'll be the end of it." My brother actually took it to heart. When my sister-in-law brought up divorce again, he grabbed a broom and hit her directly. "Damn it, have I really been giving you too much face, yelling about divorce every single day? Divorce my ass." My sister-in-law screamed in pain and cursed at my brother. "How dare you hit me? What gives you the right to hit me? Don't think I won't call the police." This word directly provoked my brother, and he hit even harder. "Call the police, you dare to call the police, I'll beat you to death today." My mother stood by, watching my sister-in-law being beaten with a smile. "Son, well done. Women, they deserve to be beaten, otherwise they'd think they can do whatever they want." My sister-in-law was covered in wounds and trembling all over by the end, with my brother gripping her neck. "Still want a divorce?" she replied weakly. No, never again." My brother smiled at his wife, then turned to ask our mom for money. "Mom, give me some money. I've recently taken a liking to a stock that's rumored to make a big turnaround. I want to buy some." Our mom looked worried. Oh, you don't know. Your sister hasn't been giving us money again lately. I don't know what's wrong with that little bitch. Last time she even dared to hit me at the hospital. I don't have much money on me either. Why don't you ask her? She said she was going to leave you money to buy a house. My brother immediately called me upon hearing this. Donna, could you give me the money you set aside for my brother to buy a house first? You don't really need that much money anyway. Also, refund me the money for the luxury postpartum care center. I'm about to make a fortune. Listening to him on the phone, I realized my brother truly treated my money as his own. What are you saying, bro? You're still the same, really treating my money as yours, my brother said matter-of-factly. Of course, everything of yours is mine. Besides, when you get married in the future, the bride price will also go to me. I burst out laughing. Too bad, bro. It was all a lie, all fake. What can I do? I didn't give you any money. Even the postpartum care center was fake. Everything was fake. As soon as these words were spoken, my brother's hands trembled. It turned out that during these days, he had borrowed from loan sharks to invest in stocks, counting on me to give him the money. He couldn't believe it. How is this possible? No way. You must be lying to me. I smiled and said, I'm not lying, brother, it's all fake. As far as I know, you've borrowed from loan sharks, haven't you? What a pity. What are you going to do now? He roared into the phone in anger. Go to hell, you bitch. How dare you lie to me? Fine, if I find you, believe me, I'll kill you. But I just hung up the phone and comfortably enjoyed my exotic experience. Harry, having been hung up on by me, was so furious he smashed his phone. Damn it, you still dare to lie to me. I'm gonna fucking kill you right now. He grabbed a knife and rushed straight to the place where I rented, slashing at the door. Before long, the police subdued him, and he started cursing wildly. What's the big deal if I want to slash? Believe it or not, I'll fucking kill you all. The next second, he was electrocuted and passed out. My mom rushed over to pay the money and take my brother home, and only then did my brother tell her, Mom, it's over, I'm in debt, over $500,000, what should I do? Hearing this, my mom fainted on the spot. I received a call from my mom, who was crying on the other end. Donna, what should I do? Your brother owes so much money. What am I supposed to do? We've already sold the house, and it's still not enough to pay it all off. I've used up all my pension to help your brother repay the debt. We're family. Tell me, what should we do? I laughed and said, well, Mom, what do you think you should do? Tell me, I'm listening. My mom thought there was hope and immediately said, send us some money. Not much. Just 500,000, after all, we're family, what's yours is ours. Mom, that's hilarious. Since when is my money yours? If you want money, let my brother die first. I'll pay for his funeral, but not a cent more. I hung up the phone right away, leaving my mom clutching her chest in anger. In the end, it was my mom who borrowed money from everywhere to barely pay off my brother's loan shark debt. After that, my brother became extremely irritable, idle all day, and even abused my sister-in-law, sometimes. He would hit my mom if she said a few words to him. Another time, my sister-in-law was beaten by my brother until she was covered in blood. She cried and begged for mercy. Please, Harry, I was wrong, stop hitting me. My brother kicked her directly. You damn bitch, barely making any money all day. How come you still haven't gotten pregnant after all these months? My sister-in-law couldn't take it anymore. Grabbed a nearby liquor bottle and threw it while screaming, go to hell, you fucking bastard. The next second, my brother's head was covered in blood, and my sister-in-law went berserk, smashing at him until he was a bloody mess. My mother wanted to come out to save her son but couldn't move. After contracting brucellosis, her health deteriorated, and she even had to take medication with every meal. In the end, my sister-in-law grabbed the family's valuables and ran away. By the time the ambulance arrived, my brother had lost a lot of blood and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. He survived but was left paralyzed for life. My mother cried and begged everywhere for money, but no one was willing to lend her any, so she started collecting garbage. At first, my brother thought he was a useless person, constantly talking about wanting to die. My mother initially took care of him, but later she couldn't bear it anymore and ran away too. In the end, my brother starved to death in the rental house. My mother ended up homeless on the streets. After I returned, she found me and said, I don't care, I'm your mother, you have to support me, it's the law. I smiled at her disheveled state. Mom, you are my birth mother after all. Of course, I'll support you. The next second, I turned around and sent her to the cheapest nursing home. After all, back then, she sent me to the most grueling factory, indifferent to whether I lived or died, even when those supervisors bullied me. She thought it was no big deal. Well, this time, why don't you give it a try? As for My sister-in-law, she was eventually wanted by the authorities and was caught working as a hostess in a KTV. Upon hearing this news, as the only remaining family member, I chose to hire the best lawyer to appeal and request a life sentence. After all, in my previous life, before my brother killed me, she repeatedly slashed my skin with broken glass and beat my stomach with an iron rod, screaming, "You killed my son. I'm going to kill you." This time, I watched as she cried and knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Upon hearing the life sentence, "Donna, I was wrong, please, I'm a woman too, please," but I turned and walked away. It was finally all over. After the rain, the sky always clears. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister-in-law absolutely loves eating bullfrogs. In my past life, as a doctor, I strongly advised her not to eat them during pregnancy, as it could potentially cause fetal deformities. She dismissed my concerns and even held a grudge, pushing me down the stairs while I was pregnant, causing me to bleed to death. In this new life, I've decided to let go of my savior complex. "Lucy, what are you spacing out for?" My mother's voice rang in my ears. I stared blankly at the two people in front of me, overwhelmed by immense fear and hatred. I pinched my thigh hard, wincing in pain. This isn't a dream. Could it be that I've been reborn? In my past life, I kept advising my sister-in-law to eat less bullfrog during pregnancy, only to be pushed down the stairs by her. About to give birth, I ended up with 2 lives lost. This familiar scene is exactly the beginning of my tragic end. My mother is still chattering away. My sister-in-law picked at her ear and looked at me impatiently. "Lucy, you're a doctor, tell me, is eating this bullfrog harmful to the baby in my belly?" I forced a smile. "Sister-in-law, of course. It's your call about your child." "Oh, Mom, don't worry so much. Mom, I told you to stop fussing. Besides, this frog was raised by my brother. Even if he wanted to harm someone, would he harm his own sister and nephew?" My mother clicked her tongue but didn't dare say another word. Dinner still featured the bullfrogs that my younger siblings loved to eat: spicy stir-fried bullfrog, boiled bullfrog, braised bullfrog in soy sauce. Looking at this table full of frog feast, it brought back some unpleasant memories from deep in my mind. I vividly remember working part-time at a bullfrog restaurant during my sophomore year, where I saw chefs gutting bullfrogs and noticing numerous tiny, wriggling parasites inside their stomachs. The thought still makes me nauseous. My sister-in-law was eating with relish. While I felt a chill run down my spine, I avoided the bullfrog and picked up some greens with my chopsticks. My sister-in-law looked at me suspiciously. "Why aren't you eating, now that you're pregnant? You're the most important at home. If you like to eat, of course we won't compete with you." I picked up another piece of frog and placed it in my sister-in-law's bowl. "Eat more, it's good for protein." "Then I'll eat it all." My sister-in-law picked up the plate of braised frog and poured it all into her own bowl. "Big eater, have some more." Can't sleep in the middle of the night. I got up to drink some water in the living room. There was a rustling sound coming from the kitchen. Could it be a burglar? I thought to myself. I tiptoed over and bent down to peek inside. It turned out to be my mom and my sister-in-law. I only heard my sister-in-law's slightly tearful voice. "Mom, I'm really craving it." My mom sighed helplessly. "You should eat less during pregnancy, otherwise the baby will be too big and hard to deliver." I know. My sister-in-law nodded repeatedly. My sister-in-law stared at the unfinished bullfrog with greedy, eager eyes. I glanced at her belly. 6 months along, yet it looked as big as 8. Even before the pregnancy, she ate like a starving ghost, and now she had no restraint at all. I was woken up early in the morning by an urgent phone call and rushed to the hospital in a hurry. This time, it was a critically ill pregnant woman we were dealing with, and by the time the surgery was over, the sun had already set. Exhausted, I lay back in the chair. My colleague Tom came over and said, "Lucy, your sister-in-law was brought in from the emergency room today, clutching her stomach, pale-faced, and covered in sweat. She looked so bad that she scared all the doctors in our department." I raised my eyes slightly. "Is it because of the bullfrog?" "Well, yes and no. It's just that the spicy stir-fried bullfrog was too spicy, and it gave me a stomachache." Tom squeezed my shoulder. "But you really should talk some sense into your sister-in-law. Bullfrogs are a major food safety hazard. Ordinary people should avoid them, let alone pregnant women. Take my neighbor, for example, a hard bullfrog enthusiast who ate them at every meal during her pregnancy. In the end, she gave birth to a deformed child, turning the whole household upside down and tearing the family apart." I sighed, patted her hand, and said with a sigh, "Let go of the savior complex and respect others' fate. You used to care more about your brother and sister-in-law's affairs than your own. How come you're so indifferent now? Everyone at the hospital who knows you jokingly calls you the brother obsessed Demon, if I were Andy, I would have left long ago. Tom looked at me with confusion. Andy is my boyfriend in both lifetimes. We work at the same hospital. He's in pediatrics, and I'm in obstetrics and gynecology. I blinked and said, maybe it's because I did a lot of good deeds in my past life, and heaven gave me a chance to see people clearly and start over. Tom laughed at me. I'm being serious here. Stop fooling around. Knock knock. Suddenly, the sound of knocking came. Well, speak of the devil, Tom teased me with a smirk. Andy stood at the door, gazing at me tenderly. Dear Lucy, would you do me the honor of joining me for dinner? The restaurant was booked at the place with the highest proposal success rate. The radio played love songs, and the roses on the table emitted a faint, elusive fragrance. The atmosphere was romantic and ambiguous. Andy and I sat face to face, both feeling somewhat awkward and nervous today. In my past life, he also proposed to me on this day, but I was still preoccupied with my younger brother's family and turned him down. After my death, he handed over evidence of my brother's bribery to the company's top executives, and my sister-in-law was sent to prison for intentional homicide. After settling everything, he took his own life in front of my grave, hastily ending his existence. Now, I want to live for myself and for those who love me. Andy tugged at his coat, knelt on one knee, his gaze fervent and sincere. I know you have many concerns, but I hope you won't bear them alone. In the days to come, whether it's troubles or sorrows, I want to share them with you. Let me offer you a shoulder to lean on. Okay. I covered my mouth as tears streamed down my face. Miss Lucy, will you marry me? The crowd around them started cheering. Say yes, say yes. Andy's hands trembled nervously. I wiped away my tears and reached out my hand. I promise you. He excitedly spun me around in his arms, happiness materializing in that moment. On the day my sister-in-law gave birth, it was my colleague Tom who delivered the baby, while I was also assisting another mother in labor. When my younger brother and sister-in-law got married, she resented me for only lending them $100,000 for their home purchase and held a grudge against me ever since. She never comes to my clinic after getting pregnant. In my past life, I kept tormenting myself over this matter, but now I just shrug it off. No big deal, happy to have some peace and quiet. After the surgery, I washed my hands and changed clothes. Tom walked over and complained to me, your sister-in-law really has an appetite. The baby weighed over 8 pounds. I was sweating bullets for her. Luckily, she managed to deliver it after all. Is it healthy? Yes, it's healthy. This child is truly blessed by fortune. I was so worried it might be born deformed. While making my rounds to check on patients in the ward, I saw my mother bowing at the doorway. Thank you, ancestors, for blessing our family with a healthy, chubby baby boy. My younger brother held the chubby baby in his arms, his eyes and brows brimming with unconcealable joy. His wife said sarcastically, I can't stand mom nagging all day long. See, isn't the baby perfectly fine now? She lowered her voice. That pregnant woman delivered by Lucy, she avoided this and that every day, and yet her baby was still born with 6 fingers. My sister-in-law didn't know that the woman I had delivered was in the next bed over, so even though she lowered her voice, the woman next to her, highly sensitive to the topic, heard every word clearly. The woman's face darkened instantly, and the man standing beside her clenched his fists, ready to step forward. I stopped him, then patted the woman's shoulder and gave her a reassuring look. Don't bother with these people. The child is healthy. This is just a minor issue. When my younger brother saw me, he proudly held up the baby and said, your nephew is born, aren't you, as his aunt? Going to show some appreciation, I glanced at the child and coldly replied to my brother, you still owe me $100,000. Since I don't have money now, I'll just give the child a blessing as my gesture. Is this how an elder sister should act? My brother's face turned as colorful as a painter's palette. My sister-in-law glared at me. Lucy, you're really money-grubbing. Oh. My sister-in-law is so full of energy right after giving birth. Let me check. I walked over to her and pressed my hand hard against her abdomen. She gasped in pain. Do you want to kill me? I knew when to stop, as it wasn't worth losing my job over someone like this. How could you think of me that way, sister-in-law? I was just checking your wound. My sister-in-law was about to say something else when she glanced behind me and exclaimed joyfully, brother, you're here. My brother also quickly changed his expression, smiling broadly. Brother-in-law is here. Please, have a seat. My sister-in-law's brother rubbed his nose, looking extremely uncomfortable, as if he had done something wrong. How's the child? How is the baby doing? The younger brother proudly presented the child to his chest. Thanks to the bullfrog's brother-in-law sent to supplement Penny's nutrition, our family's baby was born so plump and fair. The brother-in-law held the child, weighed it in his arms, and after a careful inspection, finally relaxed his furrowed brow. Good. Very good. I'll send you a few more pounds of bullfrogs. I've also been raising eels. I'll bring them all to nourish my sister. The The corner of my mouth twitched, seeing that no one had fallen ill from eating them. They were now planning to increase the dosage, weren't they? Oh my, brother-in-law, you're too kind. Penny is truly blessed to have a brother like you. It's a fortune earned over 8 lifetimes, not like my stingy sister. The sarcastic tone stung my ears. Since childhood, I've always saved the best food, drinks, and fun for him. I treated him with genuine sincerity, yet he only saw me as an ATM. If you can't hold on to something, just let it go. Tears also welled up in my sister-in-law's clear eyes. The 3 of them had a delightful conversation. A full moon banquet was held for the nephew, inviting relatives from both sides. I thought to myself, these 2 really don't miss any good opportunity to make money, even throwing a banquet for a full moon. However, with the current strict policies, not many people came. My brother-in-law took charge of the cooking and prepared his signature dishes, of course. Bullfrogs were a must-have. During the meal, everyone praised the food and asked where my sister-in-law had ordered the bullfrogs. They're raised by my brother. I ate them when I was pregnant, and now Carson is eating them too. He's growing so strong. Brother-in-law basked in the praise, beaming with pride. You all flatter me too much. I'm Jim's brother-in-law and Penny's own brother. Our bullfrogs have an unbeatable taste, and the quality is beyond question. If you find them delicious and enjoy eating them, you're welcome to buy some. Since you're all relatives and friends of my sister, I'll give you a discount on your purchases, and we even offer home delivery. That sounds wonderful. I'm truly grateful. Don't mention it. Don't mention it. The family not only received monetary gifts but also helped their own brother expand his bullfrog sales, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. After several rounds of drinks, everyone started getting tipsy. Lucy, your mom says you're still not married. How can that be? A woman's value comes from marrying early. Uncle too, his face flushed red from drinking, began to ramble on. In our family, as long as someone is an elder, even if they've achieved nothing in life, they can still lecture you with complete ease. Instead of getting angry, I laughed. Uncle, your son is already in his 30s, right? Why hasn't he gotten married yet? Is there something wrong down there? My uncle was almost fuming with rage. Don't take it too heart, Lynn, your uncle just can't keep his mouth shut, my youngest aunt said, looking at me with a flattering smile. I heard you're doing well in the provincial capital. Your cousin is also studying medicine and will graduate this year. Could you pull some strings and arrange a position for her? The one who treated me the worst since childhood was my youngest aunt, so naturally, I didn't give her a pleasant look. I sneered. Where's your shame, you wretched girl, now that you've made something of yourself in the city? You've gotten all high and mighty, daring to give your aunt attitude. My youngest aunt quickly tore off her mask, revealing her true colors. Hearing the commotion, my mother hurried over and pulled me aside. How dare you speak to your elder like that? I smirked sarcastically, slammed the door, and stormed off, leaving a group of people grumbling and dispersing in discontent. The nephew grew up healthy, and by the age of 1, he could intermittently speak a few complete sentences. The sister-in-law attributed all the credit to the nutritional benefits of bullfrogs and actively promoted her brother's bullfrogs to other mothers in the group. The nutritional value of bullfrogs is incredibly high. They can promote bone development in babies, and for us adults, they nourish the heart, calm the mind, and delay aging. My baby was born weighing 8 pounds. And look how strong and healthy he is now. Aren't you moms tempted? Is it really that amazing? That sounds so tempting. Actions speak louder than words, but I read online that farmed bullfrogs use banned drugs and have lots of parasites. Oh dear, Schwan's mom, I've eaten so much of it myself and nothing's happened. It's all just rumors online, competitors trying to take each other down. Rumors stop with the wise. We're all adults here, we should know how to tell right from wrong. Everyone was convinced by her words. Then give me half a kilo. Sure thing, guaranteed home delivery. My sister-in-law hugged her phone and giggled foolishly. We're rich, we're rich. Not only did they harm relatives, but they also harmed neighbors. Black-hearted. I've been busy preparing for the wedding recently and haven't had time to deal with their family that day. I happened to go home to pick up some things, and my nephew was sitting in his high chair eating lunch. I walked over to take a look and was surprised to see it was frog porridge again. I felt a pang of sympathy and opened my mouth to speak, but remembering my own child who had died unjustly, I ultimately said nothing. My nephew looked at me and suddenly burst into tears, crying, "Mommy." My sister-in-law rushed out from the kitchen, picked up the child, and glared at me with wide, angry eyes. What did you do to my child? Her posture made it seem like I had been abusing her precious son, though I had done no such thing. Bad woman hit me. My nephew sobbed between hiccups. I couldn't believe it. He's already lying. At such a young age, Lucy, if you have any hatred towards me, directed at me, don't take it out on the child." Speechless, I watched the two of them before turning to leave. Like mother, like son, it's no surprise my compassion shouldn't be wasted on those without a conscience. The good times didn't last long, and my sister-in-law's business soon faced a crisis. Several mothers in the group chat reported that their children experienced vomiting, fever, and stomach pain after eating the food. Medical examinations revealed parasitic infections. A few mothers banded together to confront her, demanding compensation. Without a hint of shame, my sister-in-law retorted, "How can you be sure it's my bullfrogs? Kids can get parasitic infections from eating with unwashed hands too. Besides, my husband Carson and I have been eating them for ages without any issues. If you're looking to scam money, you've got the wrong person." A mother threw out the medical report. "The doctor said this type of parasite is usually very difficult for children to contract. If it wasn't your frog, then what was it? If you don't admit it, we'll call the police." "That's right, you must give us an explanation." My sister-in-law was left speechless by the accusations, and the mention of calling the police immediately made her back down. "Don't call the police, I'll compensate you right away." She slunk back to her room to get the money, and only after a few mothers gave her dirty looks did they leave. Left alone at home, the sister-in-law cursed at the wall for a long time. The business couldn't go on, and the neighbors distanced themselves from her. When relatives found out about this, they all returned the goods before even eating them to prove the miraculous effects of the bullfrog. My sister-in-law kept eating it herself and also fed it to her child. Soon enough, the boomerang finally came back to hit her. My sister-in-law and my brother discussed sending their child to kindergarten, so that my sister-in-law could go to work and ease the family's financial burden. After discussing for a long time, the two decided to send their child to the downtown kindergarten. To put it dramatically, getting into the downtown kindergarten is like having one foot already in a prestigious university. With the Hudson family genes, Carson will definitely have no problem getting into the downtown kindergarten, my younger brother said confidently, full of assurance. Watching my nephew who spends all day playing games on his phone, I shook my head. Passing the entrance exam? Unlikely. Soon came the day of the entrance exam, and my sister-in-law specially dressed my nephew in red clothes while wearing a cheongsam herself, symbolizing great luck and success at the first attempt. The whole family marched into the examination hall with high spirits and determination. "I don't want to study." My nephew clung to his phone, his face full of reluctance. "Be good, and you can play with your phone for 3 more hours when we get back." Hearing this, the nephew immediately handed the phone to his sister-in-law. "Go for it, son." The security guard nearby kept shaking his head as he watched. The sun was blazing, and the weather was unusually scorching. Every parent waits anxiously. The announcement sounds, "The exam is over." My younger brother and sister-in-law stand on tiptoe, peering into the school, eagerly anticipating. My nephew waddles out of the exam hall, twisting his big bottom. The two looked at him eagerly. "Good son, how did you do on the test?" Without saying a word, the nephew threw the exam paper on the ground and burst into tears. "Stupid test." The younger brother picked up the paper and saw the scores. Out of a perfect score, Chinese 30, Math 20, English 15. "What's going on? Didn't I specifically tutor you in advance?" The younger brother's face turned green with anger. His sister-in-law, holding the child to soothe him, was displeased with his harsh attitude and retorted, "The child must have been too nervous during the exam. Besides, didn't he pass all 3 subjects combined?" The younger brother lamented the child's lack of progress. Indulgent mothers spoil their children, a familiar mother nearby teased. "Failing isn't embarrassing. Everyone knows this school is hard to get into." My sister-in-law glared at her fiercely. "This school didn't accept Carson because they're blind to talent. It's not like this is the only good kindergarten out there. Fortunes change with time. We'll see who has the last laugh," I suggest. "You stop wasting your energy. You'd be better off taking your kid to get their brain checked. Maybe those parasites from the bullfrogs have eaten their mind." My sister-in-law flared up instantly, planting her hands on her hips and yelling, "You damn hag, your mother's dead, and now you're cursing my child. May parasites rot the brains of all 18 generations of your ancestors." My brother also stepped forward to join the fight. The security guard quickly pulled the people away, scolding, "If you want to make a scene, go somewhere else." In the following days, my sister-in-law continued to look for schools for my nephew, but with his abilities, he couldn't get into any of them. Finally, they had no choice but to pay for a spot in a relatively good private kindergarten. Some parents accept their own mediocrity but cannot accept their children's. But before I officially started school, that mother's words came true. "Lucy, come quickly and see Carson." My mother stood at the door of my office, crying and snotting, shouting in despair. I had been working overtime and staying at the hospital these past few days, so I knew nothing about what was happening at home. My colleagues all turned to look at me. I walked over and pulled her aside, asking, "What's wrong, Carson? Carson is dying." What? I was shocked. Unable to suppress the curve of my lips, I was hurriedly pulled by my mom to the pediatric building. Andy stood at the entrance of the operating room, while my sister-in-law collapsed on the floor. "What's going on? Carson's condition isn't good," Andy said seriously, looking at me. "His brain has almost been eaten away by parasites. The chances of survival are very low, and even if he's lucky, he'll likely be mentally disabled." My younger brother rushed over in a panic, and upon hearing this, he was utterly devastated. He slapped his sister-in-law and cursed, "You damn woman. How dare you feed the child random things?" Provoked, the sister-in-law pushed back and screamed hoarsely, "Weren't you the one who said frog meat was good? Now you're blaming me. Is the child mine alone? Huh? Where were you when the child needed you? Oh right, you were at the nightclub chasing girls, spending money on your mistress." People in the hospital came and went, all turning to look at them and whispering among themselves. The brother yanked her aside, veins bulging on his forehead. "With so many people around, have you no shame?" His sister-in-law, looking deranged, clutched his hand tightly and answered irrelevantly, Go find my brother." "Yes, go find your brother, the culprit. Let's follow them and see." Andy pulled my hand. We followed them all the way, turning many corners, until we arrived at a remote farm. As soon as I stepped inside, a foul stench hit me. The further I went, the worse the smell became. I covered my nose, unable to stop retching. Inside, there were several ponds, densely packed with bullfrogs huddled together in clumps, resembling a cobblestone path. The bullfrog squeezed in the middle struggled to crawl through the narrow gap. Residues of white medication floated on the water's surface, and medicine bottles were scattered everywhere on the ground. With my trypophobia acting up, I finally couldn't hold back and crouched by the side to vomit. Andy patted my back lightly. "Fine. Is this what you call green, safe, and harmless?" My sister-in-law trembled with rage, pointing at the pond and demanding an answer. Her brother, who was spraying pesticides on the bullfrogs, froze in shock. "Sis, brother-in-law, what are you doing here?" he stammered. "Didn't see this coming, did you?" My brother sneered, throwing a punch. "You've made my son suffer. I'll make you pay with your life." Knocked to the ground, he spat blood, dazed. "Let's talk this out properly," he pleaded. "No need for violence. Let's not ruin our relationship. My son is now brain damaged because of parasites, and you're still talking about this bullshit." Harmony, the sister-in-law, was crying uncontrollably beside them. The brother-in-law was stunned. How did it come to this? I treated you like my own brother, and you actually harmed me like this. No wonder you didn't let me come to your breeding base before." My brother-in-law knelt down begging, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't know things would turn out like this. The first time I gave it to you, I was scared too, but later you were fine, weren't you? So many people online say you shouldn't eat bullfrogs, or at least eat less. My business sales plummeted, and I thought since you're pregnant, if you were fine, then sales wouldn't be a problem, but I never expected. I'm really sorry." Hearing this, my younger brother flew into a rage. "You bastard, so you knew it was harmful all along." The brother-in-law kept kneeling on the ground, pleading for mercy before he could rush forward to beat him again. The police restrained him and he secretly called the police. After a long dispute, the brother-in-law was sentenced to 10 years in prison, with all his property awarded to the sister-in-law to cover the child's medical expenses, and the farm was shut down. The nephew remained in a coma for over 10 days. When he woke up, he was in a daze, with the intellect of an infant, speaking incoherently and foaming at the mouth. The sister-in-law cried every day while holding the child, and my brother was rarely at home. My mother seemed to age 10 years in an instant. The incident has caused a huge uproar, not just in our hospital, but the entire city. Online platforms and other hospitals have started reporting on it. The hospital asked me to conduct a food safety lecture to promote more knowledge about food safety. The bullfrog farming industry has hit rock bottom, with business being extremely slow. The pregnant woman who gave birth on the same day as my sister-in-law had her child undergo surgery, which went very smoothly. His hand was bandaged with gauze, and his face was beaming with a happy smile. The pregnant woman's family passed by her sister-in-law's hospital room, glanced inside, and their faces showed sympathy. The wheel of heaven turns, and the heavens will not spare any evildoer. Now that things have come to this, what belongs to me, I will take it back. As soon as I opened the door, the house was a complete mess, and a foul smell lingered in the air. I sat across from my sister-in-law, tapping my fingers on the table. "Sis, when are you going to pay me back? I've been asking for so long. If you don't Return the money soon, I'll have to take legal action. She stood up abruptly, her eyes burning with anger. Lucy, do you think our family isn't miserable enough already? Are you here to add fuel to the fire? My mother looked at me with deep sorrow. Lucy, now that Jim is in trouble, as his elder sister, you should help him. How could you join outsiders in kicking him when he's down? Outsiders? Haven't I always been treated as an outsider, ever since we were little? You've constantly repeated. Lucy, you're the elder sister, you should give way to your brother, but I'm only 1 year older than Jim. Mom, am I not your child too? My eyes were red with emotion. My mother fell silent, then suddenly rushed over and knelt before me. I was wrong to you in the past, but now I'm begging you to spare your brother and his family. My heart felt as if it were being tightly gripped by a hand, the pain so intense it was suffocating. I pushed her away abruptly. Mom, you always put on this pitiful look, knowing it would make me feel sorry for you and soften my heart, but that was the old Lucy, not the current Lucy. For as long as I can remember, the housework has been done by me and Mom. At first, she would feel sorry for me, but over time, she took it for granted, and my younger brother was treated like a prince, with everything handed to him on a silver platter. She wouldn't spend money on frostbite ointment for me, yet she'd readily buy toys costing hundreds for my younger brother. My alcoholic father was abusive, and she could have divorced him to free us from that misery, but she claimed that if my brother and I grew up without a father, we'd become laughingstocks. When he eventually passed away, she wept as if heartbroken, as though theirs had been a love story all along. I used to feel sorry and pity for her, but now I just think she deserves it. My mother lay on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. I rushed straight to the kitchen, opened the cupboard, took out the bowls, and smashed them to pieces. Lucy, are you crazy? My sister-in-law hurried over and grabbed me. I immediately slapped her across the face, knocking her to the ground. Then I picked up a hammer and smashed the bathroom mirror, the living room TV, and the vases to pieces. My nephew sat on the sofa, wailing loudly. I grabbed a pair of scissors and started slashing the sofa, accidentally spilled the ink from the desk onto the wall. Sinful, sinful, my mother wailed, lying on the ground. My sister-in-law picked up the child and glared at me venomously. I clapped my hands and smiled back at them. Now we're even. Lucy, just you wait, I'll make you pay for this. Well, we'll see about that. I slammed the door shut with force, breathing in the fresh air outside. I suddenly felt all my blocked milk ducts clear up. Although those broken things weren't worth my $100,000 at all, it felt damn good, adding insult to injury. Kicking someone when they're down, and taking advantage of a crisis are the deadliest moves. I took a deep breath and finally vented my pent-up anger. With the wedding approaching, I've been so busy every day that my feet barely touch the ground. I can't go back home, so I'm staying at a hotel for now. After Andy's parents learned about my situation, they felt very sorry for me and treated me even better than before, just like their own daughter. I'm very lucky. What I've lost might come back to me in another form. I was very nervous on the wedding day, and Tom kept comforting me. You're the most beautiful today, outshining everyone. Don't be nervous, don't be nervous. It's my first time getting married. Of course I'm nervous, I said, clutching the handkerchief in my hand. Tom teased with a laugh. How many times do you plan to get married? Haha. The playful banter sent the others into fits of laughter. The groom has arrived. A rapid knocking sounded at the door. Quick, block the door. Please welcome our bride. As the music played, I slowly entered holding the bouquet. Andy looked at me with deep affection. In this moment, it felt as if there were only the two of us. May I ask the bride, do you take this man to be your husband, to stand by him through sickness and health, for better or worse, till death do you part? Before I do could be uttered, a scream shattered the happiness of the moment. Oh dear, everyone look, the nephew has become brain damaged. Yet his aunt turns a blind eye. My sister-in-law held my nephew in her arms. My mother hung her head low, while my brother glared at me in anger. The entire room erupted in uproar. The MC looked at us awkwardly and stammered, "This." I signaled with my eyes that it was fine and took the microphone. "So you all know I'm just the child's aunt?" My younger brother roared, "Enough nonsense. Carson's situation is all your fault." The guests looked intrigued, whispering and gossiping among themselves. "My dear brother, you're really good at shifting blame and causing trouble. Did you come today to ask for money to raise your mistress's child, or do you want the evidence of your bribery in the company? Jim, you bastard, you actually had a child with your mistress behind my back." His wife frantically grabbed his hair. My brother grimaced in pain and yelled, "You stupid woman, you actually believe everything she says." I chuckled lightly and said, "Sister-in-law, how dare you criticize my brother? Haven't you already found your next man too?" "What?" My younger brother looked shocked. Well, How dare you cheat behind my back? The two quickly started wrestling, and even my mom couldn't pull them apart. My in-laws had a can't bear to watch expression on their faces. Security, get these people out of here. Several burly men dragged the group away. The MC, quick-witted, immediately smoothed things over. That was just a minor interruption. Today's stars are the newlyweds. Please, everyone, settle down. Does the bride agree to marry the groom? Whether I do. I held Andy tightly. The audience erupted into warm applause. After marriage, I lived happily and comfortably at work. I reached new heights, getting promoted and receiving a raise. I heard news about my younger brother's family again, but it was already a year later. Back then, I handed over the evidence of my brother's bribery to the senior management of his company. He spent 3 years in prison before being released later. He remarried his mistress and had another son, spoiling him beyond measure. My sister in-law also ran off with someone, and her whereabouts remain unknown to this day. My wife is domineering and drove my mother and nephew back to their rural hometown. They barely scrape by on the alimony I provide. My younger brother spends his days drinking and idling about, having clearly turned into the spitting image of our father. They didn't last long before getting divorced again. Lately, I've been feeling drowsy all day, with nausea and vomiting. My mother-in-law was overjoyed and quickly took me to the hospital for a checkup. Tom smiled. Congratulations, Ms. Lucy, you're already 3 months pregnant. Andy rushed over excitedly and spun me around in a hug. I'm going to be a dad. Haha. My mother-in-law scolded him with a glare. Put my daughter-in-law down right now. Be careful not to bump the baby. Tom watched us with a smirk, blushing. I patted him lightly. Put me down already. During pregnancy, I strictly avoided certain foods, resolutely abstaining from anything I shouldn't eat. Touching my gradually growing belly brought me unprecedented happiness and contentment. Honey, my right eyelid has been twitching a lot lately, and I feel unsettled inside. I rested my head on Andy's shoulder. Andy put down the book and held me in his arms. Honey, during pregnancy, it's easy to overthink things. Tomorrow's a holiday, so I'll take you out for a walk. The next day, the weather was clear and perfect for an outing. Watching the children running freely in the park, I felt full of anticipation for my future baby. Honey, do you want me to have a boy or a girl? Whatever you have, I'll love it. Okay, standard answer. I'm a bit thirsty. Buy me a bottle of water. At your command. Suddenly, a damp cloth covered my mouth and nose, and I lost consciousness, gradually passing out. When I woke up again, the first thing I saw was an abandoned factory. My hands and feet were all tied to a chair. Lucy, you're finally awake. My younger brother looked at me with disdain, standing beside a woman whose face was covered in terrifying scars. Noticing my puzzled expression, the woman spoke up. Don't recognize me anymore, Lucy. I became like this all because of you. Hearing the familiar voice, I immediately understood. The two of them were in cahoots again. I spoke coldly. Your suffering wasn't caused by me. It was your own doing. You should have advised me back then to feed Carson fewer bullfrogs. Then this tragedy wouldn't have happened. Good advice is wasted on those doomed to die. In their past life, my younger brother and his wife ate too many bullfrogs and contracted a parasitic disease, but now that he's in good health, it seems the retribution has fallen upon his son. My younger brother shoved her aside, pointing at my nose and shouting, if you hadn't reported me to the higher-ups, would I be in this miserable state now? I sneered. If you hadn't embezzled and taken bribes, would I have had any grounds to report you? I owe you nothing. On the contrary, you owe me far, far too much. My sister-in-law brought a plate of still wriggling bullfrogs, grinning sinisterly as the scars on her face twisted. I gagged in disgust. My child is ruined, and you won't get off easy either. My younger brother clamped his hand around my chin. Don't move. A group of police officers surrounded the two of them. Andy quickly untied the ropes from me and held me tenderly. I gave him a reassuring look. It's okay. We'll have a peaceful life from now on. It all started a month ago when I constantly felt like someone was following me. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid, but everything became clear the moment I saw that familiar face. Their malicious intent hadn't died. They still wanted to harm me. Andy and I went to the police station to investigate the two individuals. The younger brother is dealing drugs, while the sister-in-law scams ordinary people out of their money. A perfect match made in crime. Both are fugitives wanted by the law. After some contemplation, I decided to take the risk and set up this scheme to rid society of these evils. Andy initially disagreed, but I managed to persuade him. After appealing to his emotions and reasoning with him, I placed a tracking device on myself. Whenever I appeared in an unusually remote location, the police would receive an alert. The criminals were apprehended. I received commendation, and the $100,000 my younger brother owed me was recovered. 6 months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. We named her Elizabeth, hoping she would grow up resilient and strong. Extra story: on a rare weekend off, Andy and I took our daughter out for an outing. Passing by the bullfrog farm, I pointed it out to my daughter. Elizabeth, do you know what that is? My daughter glanced up, covered her nose in disgust, and said, "You, it's so gross and crowded. That thing is called a bullfrog. It's very dangerous. Full of parasites and germs. You must never eat it, okay?" "I know, Mom, so what's healthy then?" Andy held his daughter by the golden rice field and pointed, "This is rice, and after processing, it becomes the white rice we eat, green, safe, and nutritious, and those green vegetables over there." His daughter blinked innocently. "If I eat more of these, will I become as beautiful as Mommy and as tall as Daddy?" "Exactly." Andy nodded approvingly and gave a thumbs up. The setting sun gradually descended, casting a warm glow over the land. The daughter fell into a deep sleep, lying in Andy's arms. "In my past life, I always regretted not being able to protect you." Andy suddenly spoke. I looked at him in surprise. "Could it be that you..." Andy patted my